Act 1 of The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship, by Richard Steele. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship. Haec nosse salus est adolescentulis. Tertullian. The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship, a comedy, was acted at Drury Lane Theatre on December 2, 1703, and ran for 6 nights. It was published by Bernard Lintot on January 26, 1704. Wilkes, Bookwit Jr., Mills, Lovemore, Cibber, Latine, Pinkethman, Storm, and Bullock, Charcoal, together with Mrs. Oldfield, Victoria, and Mrs. Rogers, Penelope, acted in this piece, which, so far as is known, has been revived only once, April 4, 1746, since it was originally produced. The plot was taken from Le Menteur by Corneille, who had borrowed from Ruy de Alarcon's Verdad Sospechosa. Steele is, of course, solely responsible for the scenes in Newgate towards the end of the piece. Samuel Foote afterwards made much use of Steele's play in his Liar. To His Grace the Duke of Ormond. My Lord, out of gratitude to the memorable and illustrious patron of my infancy, your Grace's grandfather, I presume to lay this comedy at your feet. The design of it is to banish out of conversation all entertainment which does not proceed from simplicity of mind, good nature, friendship, and honor. Such a purpose will not, I hope, be unacceptable to so great a lover of mankind as your Grace, and if your patronage can recommend it to all who love and honor the Duke of Ormond, its reception will be as extensive as the world itself. 'Twas the irresistible force of this humanity in your temper that has carried you through the various successes of war, with the peculiar and undisputed distinction that you have drawn your sword without other motive than a passionate regard for the glory of your country; since before you entered into its service, you were possessed of its highest honors, but could not be contented with the illustrious rank your birth gave you, without repeating the glorious actions by which it was acquired. But there cannot be less expected from the son of an ossuary than to contemn life, to adorn it, and with munificence, affability, scorn of gain, and passion for glory, to be the honor and example to the profession of arms. All which engaging qualities your noble family has exerted with so steadfast a loyalty, that in the most adverse fortune of our monarchy, popularity, which in others has been invidious, was a security to the crown when lodged in the house of Ormond. Thus your Grace entered into the business of the world with so great an expectation, that it seemed impossible there could be anything left which might still conduce to the honor of your name. But the most memorable advantage your country has gained this century was obtained under your command; and Providence thought fit to give the wealth of the Indies into his hands, who only could despise it; while, with its superior generosity, he knows no reward but in opportunities of bestowing. The great personage whom you succeed in your honors made me feel, before I was sensible of the benefit, that this glorious bent of mind is hereditary to you. I hope, therefore, you will pardon me, that I take the liberty of expressing my veneration for his remains, by assuring your Grace that I am, my Lord, your Grace's most obedient, and most devoted, humble servant, Richard Steele. The Preface. Though it ought to be the care of all governments that public representations should have nothing in them but what is agreeable to the manners, laws, religion, and policy of the place or nation in which they are exhibited, yet it is the general complaint of the more learned and virtuous amongst us, that the English stage has extremely offended in this kind. I thought, therefore, it would be an honest ambition to attempt a comedy which might be no improper entertainment in a Christian commonwealth. In order to this, the spark of display is introduced with as much agility and life as he brought with him from France, and as much humour as I could bestow upon him in England. But he used the advantages of a learned education, a ready fancy, and a liberal fortune, without the circumspection and good sense which should always attend the pleasures of a gentleman, that is to say, a reasonable creature. Thus he makes false love, gets drunk, and kills his man, but in the 5th act awakes from his debauch, with the compunction and remorse which is suitable to a man's finding himself in a jail for the death of his friend, without his knowing why. The anguish he there expresses, and the mutual sorrow between an only child and a tender father in that distress, are perhaps an injury to the rules of comedy, but I am sure they are a justice to those of morality. And passages of such a nature being so frequently applauded on the stage, it is high time that we should no longer draw occasions of mirth from those images which the religion of our country tells us we ought to tremble at with horror. But her most excellent Majesty has taken the stage into her consideration, and we may hope, by her gracious influence on the Muses, wit will recover from its apostasy, and that by being encouraged in the interests of virtue, it will strip vice of the gay habit in which it has too long appeared, and clothe it in its native dress of shame, contempt, and dishonour. Prologue. All the commanding powers that all mankind are in a trembling poet's audience joined, where such bright galaxies of beauty sit, and at their feet assembled men of wit. Our author, therefore, owns his deep despair to entertain the learned or the fair, yet hopes that both will so much be his friends, to pardon what he does, for what he intends. He aims to make the coming action move on the dread laws of friendship and of love. Sure then he'll find but very few severe, since there's of both so many objects here. He offers no gross vices to your sight, those too much horror raise for just delight, and to detain the attentive knowing ear, pleasure must still have something that's severe. If then you find our author treads the stage with just regard to a reforming age, he humbly hopes, you'll think there's due mercy to him, for justice done to you. Dramatis Persona.
Old Bookwit, read by Todd.
Young Bookwit, the Lying Lover, read by Thomas Peter.
Lovemore, in Love with Penelope, read by Aaron White.
Frederick, Friend to Lovemore, read by Major Toast.
Latine, Friend to Young Bookwit, read by Lex Hankins.
Storm the Highwayman, read by Beth Thomas.
Charcoal, An Alchemist and Coiner, read by Son of the Exiles.
Simon, Servant to Penelope, read by alanmapstone.
Penelope, read by Leanne YauVictoria.
Victoria, Friend to Penelope, read by Campbell SchelpBetty.
Betty, Victoria's Woman, read by Devorah Allen.
Lettice, Penelope's Woman, read by Sonia.
Servant, read by Larry Wilson.
Maid, read by Nichalia.
Constable, read by Larry Wilson.
Watchman, read by April 6090.
First Prisoner, read by Benny.
Second Prisoner, read by Sandra
Turnkey, read by Nemo.
Jailer, read by Peter Strom.
Chairman, read by Nemo.
Mr. Leveridge, a professional singer, read by Alan Mapstone.
Stage directions, read by phone. Scene, London. The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship. Act the First. Scene 1. St. James's Park. Enter Young Bookwit and Latine.
But have you utterly left Oxford?
For ever, sir, for ever. My father has given me leave to come to town, and I don't question but will let my return be in my own choice. But, Jack, you know we were talking in Magdalen Walks last week of the necessity, in intrigues, of a faithful yet a prating servant. We agreed, therefore, to cast lots who should be the other's footman for the present expedition. Fortune, that's always blind, gave me the superiority.
She shall be called no more so for that one action. And I am, sir, in a literal sense, your very humble servant.
Begin, then, the duty of a useful valet, and flatter me egregiously. Has the fellow fitted me? How is my manner? My mien? Do I move freely? Have I kicked off the trammels of a gown? Or does not the tail on seem still tucked under my arm, where my hat is, with a pert jerk forward, and a little hitch in my gait like a scholastic bow? This wig, I fear, looks like a cap.
No, faith, it looks like a cap and gown, too, though at the same time, you look as if you ne'er had worn either.
But my sword, does it hang careless? Do I look bold, negligent, and erect? That is, do I look as if I could kill a man without being out of humour? I horridly mistrust myself. Am I military enough in my air? I fancy people see I understand Greek. Don't I pour a little in my visage? Haven't I a down bookish lour, a wise sadness? I don't look gay enough and unthinking, I fancy.
I protest you wrong yourself. You look very brisk and very ignorant.
Oh, fie! I'm afraid you flatter me.
I don't indeed. I'll be hanged if my tutor would know either of us. But, good master, to what use do you design to put the noble arts and sciences he taught us? The conduct of our lives, the government of our passions were his daily talk to us, good man.
Good man? Why, I'll obey his precepts, but abridge him. For as he used to advise me, I'll contract my thoughts, as I'll tell you, Jack. For the passions, I'll turn 'em all into that one dear passion, love. And when that's the only torch of my heart, I'll give that tortured heart quite away, deny there's any such thing as pain, and turn stoic a shorter way than e'er thy tutor taught thee. This is the new philosophy, you rogue, you.
But you would not in earnest be thought wholly illiterate.
No, for as when I walk, I'd have you know by my motion I can dance. So when I speak, I'd have you see I read, yet would ordinarily neither cut capers nor talk sentences. But you prate as if I came to town to get an employment. No, hang business, hang care, let it live and prosper among the men. I'll ne'er go near the solemn ugly things again. I'll keep company with none but ladies, bright ladies. Oh, London, London, oh, woman, woman, I am come where thou livest, where thou shinest.
Heyday! Why, were there no women in Oxford?
No, no. Why, do you think a bedmaker's a woman?
Yes, and I thought you knew it.
No, no, 'tis no such thing. As he that is not honest or brave is no man, so she that is not witty or fair is no woman. No, no, Jack, to come up to that high name and object of desire, she must be gay and chaste. She must at once attract and banish you. I don't know how to express myself, but a woman, methinks, is a being between us and angels. She has something in her that at the same time gives awe and invitation. And I swear to you I was never out in't yet, but I always judged of men as I observed they judged of women. There's nothing shows a man so much as the object of his affections. But what do you stare at so considerately?
Faith, sir, I am wondering at you, how 'tis possible you could be so jaunty a townspark in a moment, and have so easy a behaviour. I look, methinks, to you, as if I were really your footman.
Why, if you're serious in what you say, I owe it wholly to the indulgence of an excellent father, in whose company I was always free and unconstrained. But what's this to ladies, Jack, to ladies? I was going to tell you I had studied 'em, and know how to make my approaches to 'em by contemplating their frame, their inmost temper. I don't ground my hopes on the scandalous tales and opinions your wild fellows have of him, fellows that are but mere bodies, machines, which at best can but move gracefully. No, I draw my pretences from philosophy, from nature.
You'll give us by and by a lecture over your mistress? You can dissect her?
That I can indeed, and have so accurately observed on woman, that I can know her mind by her eye as well as her doctor shall her health by her pulse. I can read approbation through a glance of disdain, can see when the soul is divided by a sparkling tear that twinkles and betrays the heart. The sparkling tear is the dress and livery of love made up of hope and fear, of joy and grief.
But what have the wars to do with all this? Why must you needs commence soldier all of a sudden?
Were't not a taking compliment with my college face and phrase to accost a lady? Madam, I bring your ladyship a learned heart, one newly come from the university. If you want definitions, axioms, and arguments, I am an able schoolman. I've read Aristotle twice over, compared his jarring commentators too, examined all the famous peripatetics, know where the Scotus and the Nominals differ. This certainly must needs enchant a lady.
This is too much on th' other side.
The name of soldier bids you better welcome. 'Tis valour and feats done in the field a man should be cried up for, nor is't so hard to achieve.
The fame of it, you mean?
Yes, and that will serve. 'Tis but looking big, bragging with an easy grace, and confidently mustering up 100 hard names they understand not. Thunder out Villeroy, Catinat, Boufflers, speak of strange towns and castles, whose barbarous names, the harsher they're to the ear, the rarer and more taking. Still running over lines, trenches, outworks, counterscarps and forts, citadels, mines, countermines, piquering, pioneers, sentinels, patrols, and others, without sense or order. That matters not. The women are amazed. They admire to hear you rap 'em out so readily, and many a one that went no farther for it, retailing handsomely some warlike terms, passes for a brave fellow. Don't stand gaping, but live and learn, my lad. I can tell thee 10,000 arts to make thee known and valued in these regions of wit and gallantry. The park, the playhouse.
Now you put me in mind where we are. What have we to do here thus early, now there's no company?
Oh, sir, I have put on so much of the soldier with my red coat that I came here to observe the ground I am to engage upon. Here must I act, I know, some lover's part, and therefore come to view this pleasant walk. I privately rambled to town last November. Here I stood and gazed at High Mole, till I forgot it was winter. So many pretty sheaves marched by me. Oh, to see the dear things trip along and breathe so short, nipped with the season. I saw the very air not without force leave their dear lips. They were intolerably handsome.
You'll see, perhaps, such today. But how to come at 'em?
Aye, there's it. How to come at 'em.
Are you generous?
I think I am no niggard.
You must entertain them high, and bribe all about them. They talk of Ovid and his art of loving. Be liberal, and you outdo his precepts. The art of love, sir, is the art of giving. Be free to women, they'll be free to you. Not every open-headed fellow hits it neither. Some give by lapfuls, and yet ne'er oblige. The manner, you know, of doing a thing is more than the thing itself. Some drop a jewel, which had been refused, if bluntly offered.
Some lose at play when they design a present.
Right. The skill is to be generous, and seem not to know it of yourself. 'Tis done with so much ease. But a liberal blockhead presents his mistress as he'd give an alms.
Leaving such blockheads to their deserved ill fortune, tell me if thou knowest these ladies.
Oh, not I, sir. They are above an academic, converse many degrees. I've seen 10,000 verses writ in the university on wenches not fit to be either of their handmaids. I never spoke to such a fine thing as either in my whole life. I'm downright asleep a sudden. I must fall back, and glad it is my place to do so. Yet I can get you intelligence, perhaps. I'll to the footman.
Do you think he'll tell?
He would not to you, perhaps, but to a brother footman. Do but listen at the entrance of the mall at noon, and you'll have all the ladies' characters in town among their lackeys. You know all fame begins from our domestics.
That was a wise man's observation. Follow him, and know what you can.
Exit Latine. Enter Penelope, Victoria, Simon, and Lettice.
A walk round would be too much for us. We'll keep them all. But to our talk, I must confess I have terrors when I think of marrying Lovemore. He is indeed a man of an honest character. He has my good opinion, but love does not always follow that. He is so wise a fellow, always so precisely in the right, so observing and so jealous. He's blameless indeed, but not to be commended. What good he has no grace in it. He's one of those who's never highly moved, except to anger. Give me a man that has agreeable faults, rather than offensive virtues.
Offensive virtues, madam?
Yes, I don't know how. There's a sort of virtue, or prudence, or what you'll call it, that we can but just approve. That does not win us. Lovemore wants that fire, that conversation spirit I would have. They say he's learned as well as discreet, but I'm no judge of that. I'm sure he's no women's scholar. His wisdom he should turn into wit, and his learning into poetry or humour.
Well, I'm not so much of your mind. I like a sober passion.
A sober passion? You took me up just now when I said an offensive virtue. Bless me!
Stumbling almost to a fall. Young Bookwit catching her.
How much am I indebted to an accident that favours me with an occasion of this small service, for 'tis to me an happiness beyond expression thus to kiss your hand.
The occasion, methinks, is not so obliging, nor the happiness you mention worth that name, sir.
'Tis true, madam, I owe it all to fortune. Neither your kindness nor my industry had any share in't. Thus am I still as wretched as I was, for this happiness I so much prize had doubtless been refused my want of merit.
It has very soon, you see, lost what you valued in it. But I find you and I, sir, have a different sense, for, in my opinion, we enjoy with most pleasure what we attain with least merit. Merit is a claim, and may pretend justly to favour, when without it what's conferred is more unexpected, and therefore more pleasing.
You talk very well, madam, of an happiness you can't possibly be acquainted with, the enjoying without desert. But indeed you have done me a very singular good office in letting me know myself very much qualified for felicity.
I swear he's a very pretty fellow, and how readily the thing talks. I begin to pity Lovemore, but I begin to hate Penelope. How he looks at her.
But judge, madam, what the condition of a passionate man must be, that can approach the hand only of her he dies for, when her heart is inaccessible.
'Tis very well the heart lies not so easily to be seized as the hand. I find... Pray, sir, I don't know what there is in this very old fellow. I'm not angry, though he's downright rude, but I must...
But your heart, madam, your heart.
You seemed, sir, I must confess, to have shown a ready civility when I'd like to fall just now, for which I could not but thank you, and permit you to say what you pleased on that occasion. But your heart, madam, 'tis a sure sign, sir, you know not me. Or, if you are what indeed you seem, a gentleman, sure you forget yourself, or rather you talk by memory, a form or cant which you mistake for something that's gallant.
Madam, I very humbly beg your pardon if I pressed too far and too abruptly. I forgot indeed that I broke through decencies, and that though you have been long a familiar to me, I am a stranger to you.
Pray, familiar stranger, what can you mean? I never saw you before this instant, nor you me, I believe.
Perhaps not, that you know of, madam, for your humility, it seems, makes you so little sensible of your own perfection, that you overlook your conquest. Nor have you e'er observed me, though I hover day and night about your lodging, haunt you from place to place, at balls, in the park, at church. I give you all the serenades you've had, yet never till this minute could I find you, and this minute an unfortunate one. But this is always my luck when I'm out of the field.
You've travelled, then, and seen the wars, sir?
Ay, madam, ay. All that I know of the matter is that Louis XIV mortally hates me. They talk of French gold. What heaps have I refused? Yet to be generous even to an enemy, I must allow that prince has reason for his rancour to me. There has not been a skirmish, siege, or battle since I bore arms I made not one in. No, nor the least advantage got of the enemy, but I had my share, though perhaps not all my share of the glory. You've seen my name, though you don't know it, often in the Gazette.
I never read news.
Enter Latine.
What tale's he telling now, Tro?
You've never heard, I suppose, of such names as Rudemont, Kaiserswerth, and Liege, nor read of an English gentleman left dead by his precipitancy upon a parapet at Venloo. I was thought so indeed, when the first account came away. Every man has his failings. Rashness is my fault.
Don't you remember a certain place called Oxford among your towns, sir?
Pshaw, away! Oh, I beg your pardon, ladies. This fellow knows I was shot in my left arm, and cannot bear the least touch, yet will still be rushing on me.
Latine, aside.
He has a lie, I think, in every joint.
Do you bear any commission, sir?
There's an intimate of mine, a general officer, who has often said, Tom, if thou wouldst but stick to any one application, thou mightst be anything. 'Tis my misfortune, madam, to have a mind too extensive. I began last summer's campaign with the renowned Prince Eugene, but was forced to fly into Holland for a duel with that rough captain of the hussars, Paul Dyack. They talk of a regiment for me, but those things... Besides, it will oblige me to attend it, and then I can't follow honour whereas she's busiest, but must be confined to one nation, when indeed 'tis rather my way of serving with such of our allies as most want me.
But I see you soldiers never enjoy such a thing as rest. You but come home in winter to turn your valour on the ladies. 'Tis but just a change of your warfare.
I had immediately returned to Holland, but your beauties at my arrival here disarmed me, madam, made me a man of peace, or raised a civil war within me, rather. You took me prisoner at first sight, and to your charms I yielded up in heart, till then unconquered. Martial delights, once best and dearest to me, vanished before you in a moment, and all my thoughts grew bent to please and serve you.
Lovemore's in the walk, madam. He'll be in a fit.
Rob me of the sudden thus of all my happiness. Yet ere you quite forsake me, authorize my passion, license my innocent flames, and give me leave to love such charming sweetness.
He that will love, and knows what is to love, will ask no leave of any but himself.
Exeunt ladies.
Follow him, Jack.
I know as much of him already as needs. The footman was in his talking vein. The handsomer of the two, says he,
I serve, and she lives in the garden.
What garden?
Covent Garden. The other lies there, too. I did not stay to ask her name, but I shall meet him again. I took particular notice of the livery.
Ne'er trouble thyself to know which is which. My heart and my good genius tell me 'tis she, that pretty she I talk to.
If, with respect to your worship's opinion, I might presume to be of a contrary one, I should think the other the handsomer now.
What, the dumb thing, the picture? No, love is the union of minds, and she that engages mine must be very well able to express her own. But I suppose some scolding landlady has made you thus enamoured with silence. But here are two of the dearest of my old comrades. They seem amazed at something by their action.
Enter Lovemore and Frederick.
How? A collation on the water and music too?
Yes, music and a collation.
Last night?
Last night too.
And that's some treat.
A very noble one.
Who gave it?
That I'm yet to learn.
How happy am I to meet you here.
When I embrace you thus, no happiness can equal mine.
Saluting.
I thrust myself intrudingly upon you, but you'll pardon a man overjoyed to see you.
Where you're always welcome, you never can intrude.
What were you talking of?
Of an entertainment.
Given by some lover?
As we suppose.
That circumstance deserves my curiosity. Pray go on and let me share the story.
Some ladies had the fiddles last night.
Upon the water too, methought you said.
Yes, 'twas upon the water.
Water often feeds the flame.
Sometimes.
And by night too?
Yes, last night.
He chose his time well. The lady is handsome?
In most men's eyes she is.
And the music?
Good, as we hear.
Some banquet followed.
A sumptuous one, they say.
And neither of you all this while know who gave this treat?
Do you laugh at it?
How can I choose to see you thus admire a slight divertisement I gave myself?
You?
Even I?
Why, have you got a mistress here already?
I should be sorry else. I've been in town this month or more, though for some reasons I appear but little yet by day. In the dark of the evening I peep out, and incognito make some visits. Thus had I spent my time, but ill were not.
Latine to Young Bookwit.
Do you know what you say, sir? Don't lay it on so thick.
Young Bookwit to Latine.
Nay, you must be sure to take care to be in the way as soon as they land, to show upstairs. I beg pardon, I was giving my fellows some directions about receiving some women of quality that sup with me tonight incog. But you're my dearest friends, and shall hear all.
Frederick to Lovemore.
How luckily your rival discovers himself.
I took 5 barges, and the fairest kept for my company. The other 4 I filled with music of all sorts, and of all sorts the best. In the first with fiddles, in the next theorbo, lutes, and voices. Flutes and such pastoral instruments the third. Loud music from the fourth did pierce the air. Each concert vied by turns, which with most melody should charm our ears. The fifth, the largest of them all, was neatly hung, not with dull tapestry, but with green boughs, curiously interlaced to let in air, and every branch with jessamines and orange posies decked. In this the feast was kept. Hither with 5 other ladies I led her whose beauty alone governs my destiny. Supper was served up straight. I will not trouble you with our bill of fare, what dishes were best liked, what sauces most recommended. 'Tis enough I tell you this delicious feast was of 6 courses, 12 dishes to a course.
Latine aside.
That's indeed enough of all conscience.
Lovemore aside.
Oh, the torture of jealousy! But, sir, how seemed the lady to receive this entertainment? We must know that.
Oh, that was a height on't. She, I warrant you, was quite negligent of all this matter. You know their way, they must not seem to like. No, I warrant it would not so much as smile to make the fellow vain, and believe he had power to move delight in her.
But how then?
Why, you must know my humour grew poetic. I pulled off my sword knot, and with that bound up a coronet of ivy, laurel, and flowers. With that round my temples, and a plate of richest fruits in my hand, on one knee I presented her with it as a cornucopia, and offering from a humble swain of all his harvest, to her the ceres of our genial feast and rural mirth. She smiled, the ladies clapped their hands, and all our music struck sympathetic rapture at my happiness, while gentle winds, the river, air, and sure echoed that harmony in notes more soft than they received it. Methought all nature seemed to die for love like me. To all my heart and every pulse beat time. Oh, the pleasures of successful love! Ha! Lovemore, ha! What, hast thou got a good office lately? You're afraid I should make some request. Prithee, being so shy, I have nothing to ask but of my mistress. What's the matter?
I only attend, sir. I only attend.
Then I'll go on. As soon as we had supped, the fireworks played. Squibs of all sorts were darted through the skies, whose spreading fires made a new day. A flaming deluge seemed to fall from heaven, and with such violence attacked the waves, you would have thought the fiery element had left his sphere to ruin his moist enemy. Their contest done, we landed, danced till day, which hasty-soul disturbed us with too soon. Had he taken our advice, or feared my anger, he might in Thetis' lap have slept as long as at Alcmena's labour he's reported. But steering not as we would have prescribed, he put a period to our envied mirth.
Trust me, you tell us wonders, and with a grace as rare as the feast itself, which all our summer's mirth can't equal.
My mistress took me o' the sudden. I had not a day's warning.
The treat was costly, though, and finely ordered.
I was forced to take up with this trifle. He that wants time can't do as he would.
Farewell. We shall meet again at more leisure.
Number me among your creatures.
Oh, jealousy! Thou rack jealousy!
Frederick to Lovemore.
What reason have you to feel it? The circumstances of the feast nothing agree.
Lovemore to Frederick.
In time and place they do. The rest is nothing.
Exeunt Frederick and Lovemore.
May I speak now, sir, without offence?
'Tis in your choice now to speak or not, but before company you'll spoil all.
Do you walk abroad and talk in your sleep, or do you use to tell your dreams for current truth?
Dull brain.
Why, you beat out mine with your battles, your fireworks, your music, and your feasts. You found an excellent way to go to the wars and yet keep out of danger. Then you feast your mistresses at the cheapest rate that I ever knew. Why do you make 'em believe you have been here these 6 weeks?
My passion has the more growth, and I the better ground to make love.
You'd make one believe fine things. That would but hearken to you, but this lady might soon have found you out.
Some acquaintance I have got, however. This is making love, scholar, and at the best rate, too.
To speak truth, I'm hardly come to myself yet. Your great supper lies on my stomach still. I defy Pontac to have prepared a better of the sudden. Your enchanted castles, where strangers found strange tables strangely furnished with strange cates, were but 6-penny ordinaries to the 5th barge. You are an excellent man to write romances, for having feasts and battles at command, your Quixote in a trice would overrun the world. Revelling and skirmishing cost you nothing. Then you vary your scene with so much ease, and shift from court to camp with such facility,
I love thus to outvie a newsmonger, and as soon as I perceive a fellow thinks the story will surprise, I choke him with a stranger, and stop his mouth with an extempore wonder. Didst thou but know what a pleasure 'tis to cram their own news down their throats again?
'Tis fine, but may prove dangerous sport, and may involve us in a peck of troubles. Prithee, Tom, consider that I am of quality to be kicked or caned by this
Hush, hush, call it not lying. As for my waging war, it is but just I snatch and steal from fortune that fame which she denies me opportunity to deserve. My father has cramped me in a college, while all the world has been in action. Then, as to my lying to my mistress, 'tis but what all the lovers upon earth do. Call it not then by that coarse name, a lie. 'Tis wit, 'tis fable, allegory, fiction, hyperbole, or be it what you call it, the world's made up almost of nothing else. What are all the grave faces you meet in public? mere silent lies, dark solemn fronts, by which they would disguise vain, empty, silly noddles. But after all, to be serious, since I am resolved honestly to love, I don't care how artfully I obtain the woman I pitch upon. Besides, did you ever know any of them acknowledge they loved as soon as they loved? No, they let a man dwell upon his knees, whom they languish to receive into their arms. They are no fair enemy. Therefore 'tis but just that we use all arts the fair to undermine, and learn with gallantry to hide design.
Exeunt. End of Act 1. Act 2 of The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship, by Richard Steele. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act the Second. Scene 1. Penelope's Lodgings, Covent Garden. Enter Old Bookwit, Penelope, and Lettice.
Mistress Penelope, I have your father's leave to wait upon you, madam, and talk to you this morning. Nay, to talk to you of marriage.
To talk to me of marriage, sir?
Yes, madam, on behalf of my son, Tom Bookwit.
Penelope, aside.
Nay, there may perhaps be something said to that.
I sent for him from Oxford with that design. He came to town but yesterday, and, if a father can judge, he brings from a college the mien and air of a court. I love my son entirely, and hope, madam, you take my thoughts as to you, to be no want of respect to you.
'Twere want of sense, sir, to do that.
Old Bookwit, aside.
If I can remember my style to my mistress of old, I'll ease Tom's way, and raise her expectation of my son. Madam, had I my hat, my feather, pantaloons and jerkin on, as when I wooed your humble servant's mother, I would deliver you his errand. I married her just such a young thing as you. Her complexion was charming, but not indeed with all your sweetness.
Oh, sir!
Her neck and bosom were the softest pillows. Her shape was not of that nice sort. Some young women suffer in shapes of their mother's making, by spare diet, strait-lacing, and constant chiding. But 'twas the work of nature, free, unconstrained, healthy, and— But her charms had not all that emanation which yours have.
Oh, fie, fie!
Not those thousand graces, that soft army of loves and zephyrs, millions of airy beings that attend around you, and appear only to the second sight of lovers.
Oh, fie! Pray, good sir, you'll leave nothing for your son to say.
Old Bookwit, aside.
I did not think I had such a memory. I find the women are now certainly daughters of the women before 'em. Flattery still does it. Tom is my only son, and I extremely desire to have him settled. I own I think him of much merit.
He would derogate from his birth, were he not much a gentleman. But to receive a man in the character of a pretender at first sight—
I'll walk him by and by before your window, where your own eyes shall judge. I think there's nothing above his pretences but yourself. But when one of so many excellent qualities bestows herself, it must be condescension. You shall not answer. Farewell, daughter. We are but too apt to believe what we wish.
Exit Old Bookwit.
'Tis as you said, Lettice. Old Bookwit came to propose his son.
I overheard the old gentleman talk of it last night. But, madam, you haven't heard the song that was made on you. Oh, 'tis mighty pretty. The gentleman is dying for you. He says it. Pure, pure verses.
Whoever writ him, he's not the first poet I've made. They may talk and say nature makes a poet, but I say love makes a poet. Don't you see elder brothers who are by nature born above wit shall fall in love and write verses? Nay, and pretty good ones, considering they can tag him to settlements. But let's see.
Reading.
To Celia's spinnet. Thou soft machine that dost her hand obey, tell her my grief in thy harmonious lay. Oh, poor man. To shun my moan to thee she'll fly, to her touch be sure reply, and if she removes it, die. The device is just and truly poetical. Know thy bliss. Ay, there I come in. Know thy bliss with rapture shake, tremble o'er all thy numerous make. Speak in melting sounds my tears, speak my joys, my hopes, my fears, which all depend upon me. Thus force her, when from me she'd fly, by her own hand, like me, to die. Well, certainly nothing touches the heart of women so much as poetry. I suppose the master is in the next room. 'Tis his hour. Desire him to walk in. 'Twill make one's ears tingle. A song on one's self.
Here the song is performed to a spinnet.
Well, dost think, Lettice, my grave lover writ this fine thing, say'st thou?
No, madam. Nobody writes songs on those they are sure of.
Sure of me? The insolent!
Nay, I know no more but that he said he'd turn me away as soon as he had married you.
'Tis like enough. That's the common practice of your jealous-headed fellows. Well, I have a good mind to dress myself anew, put on my best looks, and send for him to dismiss him. I know he loves me.
I never knew him show it but by his jealousy.
As you say, a jealous fellow love. 'Tis all mistake. 'Tis only for himself he has desires, nor cares what the object of his wishes suffers, so he himself has satisfaction. No, he has a gluttony, an hunger for me.
An hunger for you? I protest, madam, if you'd let me be his cook and make you ready, I'd poison him. But I'm glad Simon disobeyed you and told the gentleman's servant who you were and your lodging.
Did the rogue do so? Call him hither.
Simon! Why, Simon!
Enter Simon.
Sirrah, I find I must at last turn you off, you saucy fellow. Don't stand staring and dodging with your feet, and wearing out your livery hat with squeezing for an excuse. But answer me, and that presently.
I will, ma'am, as soon as you ask me a question.
Not afore, then. Mr. Pert, don't you know, ye told the gentleman's footman in the park who I was, against my constant order, when I walk early. Come, sirrah, tell all that passed between you.
Why, ma'am, the gentleman's gentleman came up to me very civilly, and said his master was in discourse with my lady, he supposed. Then he fell into talk about veils, about profits in a service. At last, after a deal of civil discourse between us...
Come, without this preamble, what he asked you, impertinence? Tell that, do.
He asked about you and Madam Victoria. I said the handsomest of the two is my lady.
Speak on boldly, Simon. I'm never angry at a servant that speaks truth.
He told me he should be very proud of my acquaintance. Indeed, ma'am, the man was very well spoken, and showed a great deal of respect for me on your ladyship's account. He is a mighty well spoken man, and said he found I was a smart gentleman. Said he'd come again.
Go. You have done your business. Go down.
Exit.
Well, after all, madam, I did not think that gentleman displeased you.
Had but young Bookwit his mien in conversation, how easily would he exclude Lovemore?
Enter servant.
Mr. Lovemore is coming up, madam.
He has not heard, sure, of this new proposal.
'Tis possible he may, and come to rant or upbraid your ladyship. I wonder you endure him on these occasions.
I'll rack his very heartstrings. He shall know all that man e'er suffered for his native mistress, woman.
His father, madam, has been so long coming out of Suffolk. There are strange tricks in the world, but 'tis not my place to speak.
However, his father may come at last. I will not wholly lose him. As bad as he is, he's better than no husband at all. Stay in the room. I'll talk to you as if he were not present.
Enter Lovemore.
Ah, Penelope. Inconstant, fickle Penelope.
But Lettice, you don't tell me what the gentleman said. Now there's nobody here, you may speak.
Now there's nobody here? Then am I a thing, a utensil? I am nobody, and I have no essence that I am sensible of. I think 'twill be so soon. This ingrate, this perjured.
Tell me, I say, how the match happened to break off.
This is downright abuse. What? Don't you see me, madam?
He had the folly, upon her being commonly civil to him, to talk of directing her affairs before his time. In the first place, he thought it but necessary her maid, her faithful servant, Mrs. Betty, should be removed.
Her faithful servant, Mrs. Betty? Her betrayer, her whisperer, Mrs. Lettice? Madam, would you but hear me? I will be heard.
Prithee stop, Lettice, and see what noise is that without.
The noise is here, madam. 'Tis I that make what you call noise. 'Tis I that claim aloud my right, and speak to all the world the wrongs I suffer.
Cooling herbs, well steeped. A good anodyne at night, made of the juice of hellebore, with very thin diet, may be of use in these cases.
Both looking at him as disturbed.
Cases? What cases? I shall downright run mad with this damned usage. Am I a jest?
A jest? No, faith, this is far from a merry madness.
Hark ye, Lettice, I'll downright box you. Hold your tongue, gypsy.
Dear madam, save me. Go you to him.
Let him take you. Oh, bless me, how he stares. Take her.
Take her.
Take her.
Running round each other.
Very fine. No, madam, your gallant, your spark last night, your fine dancer, entertainer, shall take you. He that was your swain, and you, I warrant, a fantastic nymph of the flood or forest, to be out all night with a young fellow. Oh, that makes you change your countenance, does it so? Fine lady, you wonder how I came to know. Why, choose a discreeter the next time. He told me all himself. Swoon, die for shame at hearing of these words, do.
I am indeed downright ashamed for him that speaks him. Whence this insolence, if not from utter distraction under this roof?
Oh, the ingrate! Have not I, madam, 2 long years, 2 ages, with humblest resignation, depended on your smile? And shall I suffer one of yesterdays to treat you, to dance all night with you?
Speak softly, my father's coming down.
Thy father's coming down? Faithless! Thou hast no father, but to cross me by night upon the water.
Well, by night upon the water. What then?
Yes, all night.
What of that?
Without blushing when you hear of it.
Blush for what? What do you drive at?
Can you, then, coolly ask what 'tis I mean, thou reveller, thou rambler, a fine young lady with your midnight frolics? But what do I pretend to? I know not how with bended knees to call you Ceres, make you an offering of summer fruits, and deify your vanity. Thou art no goddess, thou art a very woman, with all the guile. Your barges, your treats, your fireworks.
What means the insolent? You grow insufferable.
Oh, Penelope, that look, that disdainful look has pierced my soul, and ebbed my rage to penitence and sorrow. I own my fault. I'm too rash.
The imaginary enemies you raise are but mere forms of your sickly brain. So I think, and scorn 'em. A diffident, a humorous, and ungenerous man, who without grounds calls me inconstant, shall surely find me so. She will be very happy that takes a constant man with 20,000 humours.
Is it a fault my life's bound up in thee, that all my powers change with thy looks, that my eyes gloat on thee when thou art present, and ache and roll for light when thou art absent?
Penelope, aside.
A little ill usage, I see, improves a lover. I never heard him speak so well in my life before.
Of you I am not jealous. 'Tis my own indesert that gives me fears, and tenderness forms dangers where they're not. I doubt and envy all things that approach thee. Not a fond mother of a long-wished-for only child beholds with such kind terrors her infant offspring, as I do her I love. She thinks it's food, if she's not by, unwholesome, and all the ambient air, made up of fevers and quartane agues, except she shrouds it in her arms. Such is my unpitied, anxious care for you. And can I see another?
What other?
Nay, if you make a secret of your meeting, there's all that I suspect in it. Another? Young Bookwit is another?
I never saw his face. Young Bookwit?
What? Not though he solicited a glance, with symphonies of charming note, with sumptuous dishes, not when the flying meteors from earth made a new day, not see him? Oh, that was hard. That was unkind. Not one look for all this gallantry. But love is blind. You can be all night with the son, all day with the father, and never see either. His father was here this morning. Seek not to excuse. I find your arts, and see their aim too. Go. Go. Take your Bookwit. Forget your lover, as he now must do.
Going.
Hear but 3 words.
What shall they be?
Prithee, hear me.
No, no, your father's coming down.
He's not coming, nor can he overhear us. There's time and privacy enough to disabuse you.
I'll hear nothing, unless you will be married, unless you give me, as a present earnest of yourself, 3 kisses, and your word forever.
To give way to my satisfaction, then, and be friends again, you would, Mr. Lovemore, have 3 kisses.
3 kisses, your faith and hand.
Nothing else? Will you be so contented?
I'll expect higher terms if you accept not these. Quickly, then.
Well, then. Nope, my father's coming.
Laugh at my sufferings, slight my anger. Is this your base requital of my love? Revenge! Revenge! I'll print on my favourite in his heart's blood my revenge. Our swords shall dispute our pretences, rather than he enjoy what my long services entitle me to, which is to do myself right for what he intends an injury, though perhaps what we shall dispute for is better lost.
Mr. Lovemore, you have taken very great liberties. You say I've injured you in my regard to another. Is your opinion, then, of what you say you will dispute for, such as you just now said, better lost?
Look you, madam. So, therefore, as to that is such, for that you don't consider what you said to me. You shall by all that, you shall repent this.
Flings out.
This is all we have for it. A little dominion beforehand. These are the creatures that are born to rule us, who creep, who flatter, and servilely beseech our favour. Which obtained, they grow sullen, proud, and insolent. Pry into the gift, the manner of bestowing, with all the little arts the ungrateful use to hide, or kill their sense and conscience of a benefit.
Ay, madam, 'tis so. I had a sweetheart once, a lady's butler, to whom I gave a lock of my hair, and the villain, when we quarrelled, told me half of them were grey.
The ingrate. The faithless, as Lovemore says.
And yet, madam, the rogue stole a letter out of a book to ask me for it, as my next suitor found out.
However, I am sure 'tis in my fate to be subject to one of them very suddenly.
Ah, madam, the gentleman this morning.
The fellow's very well, and I am mightily mistaken if my cousin Victoria did not think so.
Lettice, aside.
And so do you, heartily.
Yet, I wish I had seen this young Bookwit before Lovemore came today.
I'll tell you how, madam. Victoria has never a lover, and is your entire friend. Now, madam, suppose you got her to write a letter to this young gentleman in her own name. You meet him under that name incognito. Then, if an accident should happen, both you and she will be safe, and puzzle the truth. You never writ to him, she never met him.
A lucky thought. Step to her immediately. I'll come to her, or she to me.
I fly.
Exit.
This is, indeed, a lucky hint of the wench, in which I have another drift too. Now shall I sift my friend Victoria, and perfectly understand whether she likes that agreeable young fellow. For if her reserved humour easily falls in with this design on Bookwit, she's certainly smitten with the other, and suspects me to be so too. What is this, dear, this sudden intruder, love, that Victoria's long and faithful friendship, Lovemore's anxious and constant passion, both vanish before it in a moment? Why are our hearts so accessible at our eyes?
Enter Victoria and Lettice.
Oh, my dear.
Dear Pen, I ran to you. Well, what is it?
Set chairs and a bohea tea, and leave us.
Exit Lettice.
Dear Victoria, you have always been my most intimate bosom friend. Your wary carriage and circumspection have often been a safety against errors to me. I must confess it.
Filling her tea.
But, my dear, why this preface to me, to the matter?
You know all that has passed between me and Mr. Lovemore.
I have always approved him, and do now more than ever. For 'tis not a mean and air that makes that worthy creature a kind husband, but—
True. But here was old Bookwit this morning, with my father's authority to talk on me of the subject of love.
Nay, madam, if so, and you can resolve to obey your father, I contend not for Lovemore, for though the young men of this age are so very vicious, so expensive, both of their health and fortune.
Penelope, aside.
How zealous she is to put me out of her way. False creature. But, my dear friend, you don't take me. Your friendship outruns my explanation. 'Twas for his son at Oxford he came to me. He is to walk with him before the door, that I may view him by and by.
Nay, as one must obey their parents wholly, I think a wrong young man that never saw the town is better than an old one that has run through all its vices. I congratulate your good fortune. There's a great estate, and he knows nothing. Just come to town. The furniture and the horse-cloths will be all your own device for the wedding, and the horses when and where you please. He knows no better.
But one shall be so long teaching a raw creature a manner.
Never let him have one. 'Twill make him like himself, and think of making advances elsewhere. You'd better have him a booby. How could I think of the old fellow for you? Look you, Pen, old age has its infirmities, and 'tis a sad prospect for an honest young woman to be sure of being a nurse, and never of being a mother.
Oh, that I had but your prudence. But, my dear, I have a request to make to you, and that is that you would write him an assignation this evening in the park. I'll obey the appointment, and converse with him under that disguise. For the old people will clap up a match before I know anything of the real man. And if one don't know one's husband, how can one manage him? That is to say, obey him.
Oh, pray, my dear, do you think I don't understand you? Oh, and there's another thing. A scholar makes the best husband in the world.
Because they are the most knowing?
No, because they are the least knowing. But I'll go immediately and obey your commands. I wish you heartily well, my dear, in this matter.
Kissing her.
I thank you, dearest. I don't doubt it, indeed.
Where are you going now, my dear? Oh, fie! This is not like a friend. Do I use you so, dear madam?
Nay, indeed, madam. I must wait on you.
Indeed you shan't, indeed you shan't.
Penelope follows Victoria.
Well, madam, will you promise, then, to be as free with me? Thus does she hope to work me out of my lover, by being made my confidant. But that baseness has been too fashionable to pass any more. I have not trusted her, the cunning creature. I begin to hate her so. I'll never be a minute from her.
Exit. Scene 2. Covent Garden. Enter Old Bookwit, Young Bookwit, and Latine.
Well, Tom, where have you sauntered about since I saw you? Is not the town mightily increased since you were in it?
Ah, indeed, I need not have been so impatient to have left Oxford. Had I stayed here longer, they had billed it to me.
But I don't observe you affected much with the alterations. Where have you been?
No, faith, the new exchange has taken up all my curiosity.
Oh, but son, you must not go to places to stare at women. Did you buy anything?
Some baubles, but my choice was so distracted among the pretty merchants and their dealers, I knew not where to run first. One little lisping rogue, "Ribbonth, gloveth, tippeth." "Sir," cries another, "will you buy a fine sword-knot?" Then a third pretty voice in curtsy, "Does not your lady want hoods, scarves, fine green silk stockings?" I went by as if I had been in a seraglio, a living gallery of beauties, staring from side to side, I bowing, they laughing, so made my escape, and brought your son and heir safe to you, through all these darts and glances, to which indeed my breast is not impregnable. But I wonder whence I had this amorous inclination.
Whoever you had it from, sirrah, 'tis your business to correct it, by fixing it upon a proper object. But, Tom, you know I am always glad to hear you talk with the gaiety before me that you do elsewhere. But I have now something of consequence.
Aside.
That sudden, serious look was so like me. What I am going to say now, I tell you, is extraordinary.
I could not indeed help some seeming extravagancies I have been forced to, but—
I do not grudge you your expenses. I was not going to speak on it. For I decay, and so do my desires, while yours grow still upon you. Therefore, what may be spared from mine, I heartily give you to supply yours. 'Tis but the just order of things. I scorn to hoard what I only now can gaze at, while your youth and person want those entertainments you may become and taste. All your just pleasures are mine also. In you, my youth and gayer years, methinks I feel repeated.
Then what can give you, sir, uneasiness?
Your affectation of a soldier's dress makes me think you bent upon a dangerous though noble course, that you'll expose a life that's dearer to your father than yourself to daily hazards. I, therefore, have resolved to settle thee, and chosen a young lady, witty, prudent, rich, and fair.
Young Bookwit, aside.
Oh, Victoria, you cannot move too slowly in such a business.
Nay, 'tis no sudden thing. Her father and I have been old acquaintance, and I was so confident of her worth, and your compliance, that I can't with honour disengage myself.
How, sir, when honour calls me to the field, where I may perpetuate your name by some brave exploit?
You may do it much better, Tom, at home, by a brave boy. Come, come, it must be so.
Young Bookwit, aside.
What shall I do for some invention?
Let it be so, dear Tom. It must be so.
What if it be impossible?
Impossible? As how?
Upon my knees, I beg your pardon, sir. I am—
What?
At Oxford.
What art thou at Oxford? Rise and tell me.
Why, I am married there, since you needs must know.
Married? Without my consent?
There was a force upon me. You'll easily get all annulled if you desire it. It was the crossest, most unhappy accident. Yet indeed she is an excellent creature.
Latine, aside.
How could he conceal all this while from me? But I remember he used to be out of the college whole nights, we knew not where.
Penelope and Victoria at the window. Penelope, aside.
The very man we met this morning, and I employ my rival to write to him. How confidently she stares at the fellow, and observes his action.
Betty, do you see with what intent and with what fire in her eyes Penelope gazes yonder? But take you that letter and give it when the old gentleman's gone. Goodness, how concerned she seems. Well, some women.
Exeunt ladies from above.
Let that pass, since the business is irrevocable. What is her name?
Matilda, and her father's Newton.
Their names I never heard before. But go on.
This lady, sir, I saw in a public assembly. At the first sight she made me hers forever. From that instant I languished, nor had vital heat out of her presence. The sun to me shed influence in vain. He rose and set both unobserved, nor was to any living this human life so much a dream as me. All this she observed, but not untouched observed. She showed a noble gratitude to a noble passion. Favours I soon received, but severely modest ones.
Latine, aside.
Oh, that's presupposed. You, to be sure, would ne'er desire any other.
We had contrived to meet to-night, the sweetest hours of love, and there was I, one evening in her lodging. 'Twas, as I remember, yes, 'twas on the 2nd of December. That's the very night I was caught.
Latine, aside.
'Tis strange a fellow of his wit to be trepanned into a marriage.
Her father supped abroad that night, which made us think ourselves secure. But coming home by accident sooner than we expected, we heard him at the door. How did that noise surprise us? She hid me behind the bed, then lets him in.
I tremble for the poor young lady. Pray, go on. How did she recover herself?
She fell into the prettiest artful little tales to divert him and hide her discomposure, which he interrupted by telling her she must be married suddenly to one proposed to him that evening. This was to me daggers.
But she—
She, by general answers, in that case managed it so well that he was going down, when instantly my watch in my pocket struck 10. He turns him short on his amazed daughter, asked where she had it. She cried her cousin Martha sent it out of the country to be mended for her. He said he would take care on't. She comes to me, but as I was giving it her, the string was so entangled in the cock of a pistol I always had about me on those occasions, that in my haste to disengage it fired it off. My mistress swoons away. The father ran out, crying out murder. I thought her dead, feared his return, which he soon did with 2 boisterous rogues, his sons, and his whole family of servants. I would have made my escape, but they opposed me with drawn swords. I wounded both, but a lusty wench with a fire-shovel at one blow struck down my sword and broke it all to pieces.
But still, the poor young lady.
Here was I seized. Meantime Matilda wakes from her trance, beholding me held like a ruffian, both her brothers bleeding. She was returning to it. What should I do? I saw the hoary father in the divided sorrow for his sons' lives and daughters' honour, of both which she thought me the invader. She, with pitying, dying, and reproaching looks, beseeched me, and taught me what I owed her constant love. I yielded, sir. I own I yielded to the just terror of their family resentment, and to my mistress' more dreadful upbraiding. Thus am I, sir, the martyr of an honest passion.
What I most blame is that you concealed it from your best friend. I'll instantly to Penelope's father and make my apology. He is my friend.
Exit.
This marriage strangely surprised me.
Why, did you believe it too as well as the old gentleman? Why, then, I did it excellently.
What? The watch, the pistol, lady swooning, her pitying, upbraiding look. All chimera?
Nothing but downright wit to keep myself safe for Victoria.
May I desire one favour?
What can I deny thee, my privado?
Only that you'd give me some little secret hint when next you are going to be witty. But to jumble particulars so readily, 'tis impossible you could, I believe, at the beginning of your tale know the ending. Yet...
These are gifts, child, mere gifts. 'Tis not to be learnt. The skill of lying, except humour, wit, invention, presence of mind, retention, memory, circumspection, etc., were to be obtained by industry. You must not hum, nor haw, nor blush for it.
Betty entering.
Who have we got here?
May I be so bold as to crave the liberty to ask your name?
My bright handmaid, my little she Ganymede, thou charming Hebe, you may ask me my name, for I won't tell it to you, till you do, because I'd have the more words with you.
Are not you Mr. Bookwit?
The very same, my dear.
There then.
Giving him letter.
He's a mighty pretty man.
Exit Betty. Young Bookwit, reading.
You may wonder, your person and character, this evening near Rosamond's Pond on the other side the park. Victoria. Oh, the happiness! What has become of the girl? Oh, Latine, Latine, ask me 50 questions all at once. What ails me? Why this joy? Who is this from? Oh, I could die, methinks, this moment, lest there should be in fate some future ill to dash my present joy. Why, Jack, why dost not ask me what's the matter?
If you'd but give me leave.
No, do not speak. Let me talk all. I fain would celebrate my fair one's praise, her every beauty, but the mind's too full to utter anything that is articulate, and will give way to nothing but mere names and interjections. Oh, Victoria, 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 oh, my Victoria, read there.
Well, I own this subscribed Victoria, but still I am afraid of mistakes.
No. Kneel down and ask forgiveness. You don't believe that she that would not speak to me would write. But after all raptures and ecstasies, prithee step after the maid, learn what you can of her fortune, and so forth. Get interest to be admitted another time.
Exit Latine. Enter Frederick.
Sir, your servant.
Yours, sir. Have you business with me?
This paper speaks it.
Young Bookwit, reading.
Of a friend you've made me your mortal enemy. With your sword I expect satisfaction tomorrow morning at 6 in Hyde Park, Lovemore. Do you know the contents of this letter?
Yes, sir. It is a challenge from Lovemore.
Are you to be his second?
I offered it, but he will meet you single.
The fewer the better cheer.
You're very pleasant, sir.
My good humour was ever challenge-proof. I will be very punctual.
Exit Frederick.
I fall into business very fast. There, thou dear letter of love. Be there, thou of hatred. There, men of business must sort their papers. I fear he saw me put up 2 letters.
Enter Latine.
Oh, Jack, more adventures. Another lady has writ.
Let's see it.
No, always tender of reputation. She is of quality. A gentleman usher came with it. I can't believe there's anything in that old whim of being wrapped in one's mother's smock to be thus lucky. I suppose I was used like other children. They clapped me on a skull-cap, swathed me hard, played me in arms, and showed me London. But however it comes about, I have strange luck with the women.
But let us see this letter.
Young Bookwit, reading.
No, a woman of condition to go so far. But indeed, your passion, your wit, my page, at the back stairs, secrecy and your veracity.
There her ladyship nicked it. Pox! I'll be as humorous and frolic as you. You pert fellows are the only successful
Well said, lad. And as Mr. Bayes said, now the plot thickens upon us, we'll spend our time as gaily as the best of 'em, and all of it in love. For since through all the race of man we find, each to some darling passion is inclined, let love be still the bias of my mind.
Exeunt. End of Act 2. Act 3 of The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship, by Richard Steele. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act the 3rd. Scene 1. Victoria's lodgings, Covent Garden. Enter Victoria and Betty.
This was indeed, Betty, a very diverting accident that I should be employed to write to her lover. Now I can't but think how angry my cousin Pen is. She frets, I warrant, at her very looking-glass, which used to be her comforter upon all occasions.
I would not be in poor Mistress Lettice's place for all the world. Nothing, to be sure, can please today. Did you mind how she nestled and fumed inwardly to see your ladyship look so well? Nay, indeed, madam, you were in high beauty.
Yet I must confess I was myself a little discomposed. I was ashamed for my friend, and then to see her show such a regard for a fellow.
But I swear, were I to have my will, you should be always angry at me. It gives your ladyship such a pretty fierceness and a quick spirit to your features. Not that you want it, yet it adds—
There are some people very unhappily pretend to fire and life. There's poor, stupid, insipid Lady Fad, has heard of the word spleen, and distaste, and sets up for being out of humour with that unmeaning face of hers.
You're in a fine humour, madam.
Her ladyship's physician prescribed anger to her, upon which she comes in public with her eyes staringly open. This she designs for vivacity, and gapes about like a wandering country lady. She pretends to be a remarker, and looks at everybody. But alas, she wants it here, and knows not that to see is no more to look than to go is to walk. For you must know, Betty, every child can see, but 'tis an observing creature that can look, as every pretty girl can go, but 'tis a fine woman that walks. Ha! But by the way, there's Mrs. Penelope, methinks, does neither. I have a kindness for her, but she has no gesture in the least. My dear.
Enter Penelope.
Well, my dear.
Betty, aside.
How civilly people of quality hate one another.
Well, my dear, were you not strangely surprised to see that this young Bookwit should be the soldier we met this morning?
The confident, lying creature. Indeed, I wondered you'd suffer him to entertain you so long.
You must know, madam, he's married too at Oxford.
The ugly wretch. I think him downright disagreeable.
Aside.
But perhaps this is a fetch of hers. He had no married look.
Yet I am resolved to go to your assignation, if it be but to confront the coxcomb, and laugh at his lie. Such fellows should be made to know themselves, and that they're understood.
I'll wait upon you, my dear.
Aside.
She's very prettily dressed. But indeed, my dear, you shan't go with your hood so. It makes you look abominably, with your head so forward. There.
Displacing her head.
That's something. You had a fearful, silly, blushing look. Now you command all hearts.
Thank you, my dear.
Your servant, dearest.
But alas, madam, who patched you today? Let me see. It is the hardest thing in dress. I may say, without vanity, I know a little of it. That so low on the cheek pulps the flesh too much. Hold still, my dear. I'll place it just by your eye.
Aside.
Now she downright squints.
There's nothing like a sincere friend, for one is not a judge of oneself. I have a patchbox about me. Hold, my dear, that gives you a sadded air. That large one near your temples.
People perhaps don't mind these things, but if it be true, as the poet finely sings, that all the passions in the features are, we may show or hide 'em, as we know how to affix these pretty artificial moles.
And so catch lovers, and puzzle physiognomy.
'Tis true. Then pray, my dear, let me put a little disdain in your face, for we'll plague this fop. There, that on your forehead does it.
Hold, my dear, I'll give indifference for him. A patch just at the point of your lip exactly shows it, and that you're dumb to all applications.
Penelope, aside.
You wish I would be.
There, my dear.
But, dear madam, your hair is not half powdered. Betty, bring the powder box to your lady. It gives one a clean look, though your complexion does not want it, to enliven it.
Oh, fie this from you. But I know you won't flatter me. You're too much my friend.
Now, madam, you shall see.
Powders her. Aside.
Now she looks like a sprite.
Thank you, my dear. We'll take and hack. Our maid shall go with us. Come, dear friend.
Exeunt arm in arm.
Pray, Madam Lettice, be pleased to go on.
Indeed, Madam Betty, I must beg your pardon.
I am at home, dear Madam Lettice.
Well, madam, this is unkind. I don't use you with this ceremony.
Exeunt. Scene 2. Covent Garden. Enter Young Bookwit and Latine after a flourish.
Victoria, Victoria, Victoria.
Make way, by your leave. Stand by. Victoria. Formosam resonare dosis amarilida silvas.
Well said, Jack. Let me see any of your sparks besides myself keep such an equipage. I don't question but in a little time I shall be a finer fop than the town has yet seen. All my lackeys shall be linguists as thou art. While thus I ride immortal steeds, how my horses stare at me. They see I am a very new sort of beau.
This is rare, the having this noise of music. But won't it be reckoned a disturbance?
No, it is a usual gallantry here. But the vocal is an elegance hardly known before me here, who am the founder of accomplished rules, of which I'll institute an order. All coxcombs of learning and parts shall after me be called bookwits. A sect will soon be more numerous, and in more credit than your Aristotelians, Platonists, and academics.
Sir, 'twill be extraordinary, and you are really a wise person. You put your theory of philosophy into practice. 'Tis not with you a dead letter.
Oh, sir, no. The design of learning is for the use of life. Therefore I'll settle a family very suddenly, and show my literature in economy.
As how, pray?
I'll have 4 peripatetic footmen, 2 followers of Aristippus for valet de chambre, and an Epicurean cook, with an hermetical chemist, who are good only at making fires, for my scullion, and then I think all is disposed. But methinks this fair one takes state upon her. But I am none of your languishers. I am not known in town, and if I misbehave, 'tis but being sent back again to my small beer and 3 halfpenny commons. And I, like many other beaux, only blazed and vanished.
But you know I love music immoderately. How do you dispose your entertainment? Let him begin.
Well, give me but leave. The fiddles will certainly attract the ladies. I mean the nymphs who have grottos round this enchanted forest. In the first place, you intelligences that move this vehicle, how the fellows stare.
Good, your honour. Speak to us in English.
Why then, you chairman, wherever I move, you are to follow me. For I mean to strut, shine through the dusk of the evening, and look as like a lazy town fool as I can, to charm 'em.
Well, but the music.
But remember, ye sons of Phoebus, brethren of the string and lyre, that is to say, ye fiddlers, let me have a flourish as I now direct. When I lift up my cane, let it be martial. If I but throw myself just forward on it, or but raise it smoothly, sigh all for love, to show, as I think fit, that I would die or fight for her you see me bow to. Well then, strike up.
Venus has left her Grecian isles with all her gaudy train of little loves, soft cares, and smiles on my larger breast to rain. Ye tender herds and listening deer, forget your food, forget your fear, the bright Victoria will be here. The savages about me throng, moved with the passion of my song, and think Victoria stays too long.
There's for you, Jack. Is not that like a fine gentleman that writes for his own diversion?
And nobody's else.
Now I warrant one of your common sparks would have stamped, fretted, and cried, "What the devil, fool, jilted, abused!" While I, in metre, to show you how well nothing at all may be made to run, the savages about me throng, moved with the passion of my song, and think Victoria stays too long.
I begin to be one of those savages.
Enter Victoria, Penelope, Lettice, and Betty.
We had better have stayed where we were and listened to that charming echo than have come in search of that liar.
Do you see yonder?
Young Bookwit gives the sign and sings himself.
Thus, madam, have I spent my time almost ever since I saw you, repeated your name to the woods, the dales, and echoing groves.
Prithee observe him. Now he begins.
I had not time to carve your name on every tree, but that's a melancholy employment, not for those lovers that are favoured with assignation.
Prithee, cousin, do you talk to him in my name. I will be silent till I see farther.
The spring is now so forward that it must indeed be attributed to your passion that you are not in the field.
You do me justice, madam, in that thought, for I am strangely pestered to be there. Well, the French are the most industrious people in the world. I had a letter from one of their generals, that shall be nameless. It came over by the way of Holland, with an offer of very great terms, if I would but barely send my opinion in the use of pikes, about which he tells me their prince and generals have lately held a grand court-martial.
These cunning things keep still together to puzzle us. I'll alarm him. Sir, one word.
Come, come, we'll have no whispering, no messages at present. Some other ladies have sent, but they shan't have you from us.
I hold myself obliged to be of the same humour ladies are in. Ha, 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 ha! Now pray do me the favour to tell me what I laughed at.
Why, you must know. Your talking of the French and war puts us in mind of a young coxcomb that came last night from Oxford, calls himself soldier, treats ladies, fights battles, raises jealousies with downright lies of his own inventing.
That must be an impudent young rascal, certainly. Ha, 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 ha!
Nay, this is beyond comparison.
I can't conceive how one of those sneaking academics could personate such a character, for we, bred in camps, have a behaviour that shows we are used to act before crowds.
'Tis certainly so. Nay, he has been confronted with it, as plainly as I speak to you, and yet not blushed for it, but carried on as if he knew not the man.
That may be. 'Tis want of knowing themselves makes those coxcombs so confident.
The faithless! Shameless! Well then, to see, if possible, such a one may be brought to that sense, I tell you. This worthy hero 2 days ago was in hanging sleeves at Oxford, and is called Mr. Bookwit.
Well, or was it not well enough carried? Phew! I knew you well enough, and you knew me before you writ to me for Mr. Bookwit's son. But I fell into that way of talking purely to divert you. I knew you a woman of wit and spirit, and that acting that part would at least show I had fire in me, and wished myself what I would be half an age to serve and please you. Suffer in camps all the vicissitudes of burning heats and sharp afflicting colds.
Look you, sir, I shall tell Mrs. Matilda Newtown, your spouse at Oxford, what you are saying to another lady.
Prithee, cousin, never give yourself the trouble to meddle in such a work. One hardly knows how to speak it to a gentleman. But don't touch the affairs of so impudent a liar.
Ha 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 ha! Why, madam, have they told you of the marriage too? Well, I was hard put to it there. I had like to have been gravelled, faith. You are more beholden to me for that than anything. Had it not been for that, they'd marry me to Mistress Penelope, old Getwell's granddaughter, the great fortune. But I refused her for you.
Aside.
Who are a greater.
Sir, pray, sir, one word?
Stand off, sirrah. You shan't come near him. None of your dumb signs.
Then you have refused Penelope, though a great fortune. What could you dislike in her?
The whole woman. Her person nor carriage please me. She is one of those women of condition who do and say what they please with an assured air, and think that's enough only to be called fine mistress such a one's manner.
This is not to be endured. I do assure you, sir, Mrs. Penelope has refused your betters.
I don't much value my betters in her judgment, but am sorry to see you concerned for her. When I have been at church, where I first saw you, I've seen the gay giddy thing in a gallery watching eyes to make curtsies. She's indeed a very ceremonious churchwoman, and never is guilty of a sin of omission to any lady of quality with an eye short. In short, I don't like the woman, and would go to Tunis or Aleppo for a wife before I'd take her.
I cannot bear this of my friend. If you go on, sir, at this rate, Tunis or Aleppo are the properest places for you to show your gallantry in. 'Twill never be received by any here.
Aside.
I hope she believes me.
The lady's in the right on it. Who can confide in a known common impostor?
Madam, how can you use a man that loves you so unjustly? But call me what you will, liar, cheat, impostor, do but add your servant, and I am satisfied. I have indeed, madam, run through many shifts in hopes to gain you, and could be contented to run through all the shapes in Ovid's metamorphoses, could I but return to this on my bended knees of my fair one's humble servant.
Prithee, let us leave him, as you told me. I wonder you can suffer him to entertain you so long. Leave him, let him kneel to the trees and call to the woods if he will.
Aside.
Oh, I could brain him. How ugly he looks kneeling to her.
No, I'll stay to plague him more. But what opinion can I have of this sudden passion? You hardly know me, I believe, or my circumstances.
No, not I. I don't know you. Your mother was not Alderman Stirling's daughter. Your father, Mr. Phillips of Gray's Inn, who had an estate and never practised. You had not a brother killed at Landen. Your sister Diana is not dead, nor you are not co-heiress with Miss Molly. No, madam, I don't know you. No, nor love you.
Penelope, aside.
I wish I had taken her advice in going. He means her all this while. Pshaw, this is downright fooling. Let's go, my dear. Leave him to the woods, as you say.
Aside.
I wish 'twas full of bears.
No, now I'll stay to plague him.
No, you shan't stay. Sir, we have given ourselves the diversion to see you, and confront you in your falsehoods, in which you have entangled yourself to that degree. You know not even the women you pretend to. And therefore, sir, I so far despise you, that if you should come after me with your fiddles, I'll have a porter.
Aside.
Ready to let you in.
I don't know how to threaten a gentleman in that manner, but I'm sure I shall never entertain any man that has disobliged my friend, while my name's Victoria.
Exeunt arm in arm.
Master, methinks these ladies don't understand wit. They were very rough with you.
Ay, they were somewhat dull. But really, Victoria discovered herself at her going, methinks, agreeably enough.
I believe they are irrecoverably lost. Pox on it, when I gave you so many signs, too.
Well, hang thinking. Let's to the tavern, and in every glass name a new beauty, till I either forget or am inspired with some new project to attain her. While in a lovely bowl I drown my care, she'll cease to be, or I to think her fair.
Exeunt. End of Act 3. Act 4 of The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship, by Richard Steele. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act the 4th. Scene 1. Covent Garden. Enter Young Bookwit and Latine.
This roebuck has almost done my business. Rigby is an honest fellow, and would not poison us. The wine had good humour, mirth, and joy in it. My blood beats high and frolic. What says my dear lackey, ha?
Why, sir, I say, sir, that I am in so noble, so exalted a condition, that I almost forget that I am your honour's footman.
Do but your business well tonight.
Who says the tongue stutters, legs falter, and eyes fail with drink? 'Tis false, my dear master. My tongue runs faster than ever. My legs so brisk and nimble that I can't stand still. And my eyes are better than they ever were, for I see everything double. But the letter, I warrant I give it her.
Here, here, Jack, take it.
Let's come nearer the lamp. This is the foul copy of it that 'tis wrapped in. Let me judge. Now, I'll be sedate. Let me read it again.
But you look cursedly fluttered. They'll say you're drunk. Let's see. I must comb your wig a little.
I shall be kicked for this letter. Here, about the middle. You should not talk of joys so soon. You should write miserable a fortnight, or 3 weeks longer. I shall be kicked.
What then? What then? A man of your philosophy must needs remember, the body is but the mere organ of the mind. Kicks come under the topic of things without. What shall I do for powder for this smart bob?
Combs out his own wig into Latine's.
'Tis no matter, sir. Powder comes under the notion of things without.
Oh, but ladies are no philosophers. But as to being drubbed, these stockings too, you must fix your imagination upon some other object, and you may, by force of thought, suspend your feeling. The body is but the instrument of the mind, and you may command an instrument.
No, sir, I'll have you to know. I'll save my carcass by mere dint of eloquence. You have no other orders?
No, but may persuasion, grace, and elocution hang on thy lips. But if you can come in to Victoria, she and the wine you've drank will inspire you. Farewell.
Exit.
This is the enchanted castle which the Lady Fair inhabits.
Enter Simon.
Mr. Simon, sir, I am your most humble servant. My dear friend.
Your servant, good sir. My lady is with Madame Victoria at cards. She'll lie here tonight, but all's ruined. They are both huge angry with your master. But Lettice, having taken a fancy to you, Mr. John, spoke up rarely. That she did indeed.
Can't one come to the speech of her?
I was ordered to have a strict eye to the door, and to let nobody in whatsoever. I don't care for going up, because she'll see I have made a cap of one of the finest napkins, for which she'll make a plaguey noise.
Nay, nay, you are exactly of my mind. I love to avoid anger.
You are a little disguised in drink, though, Mr. John, but I ain't seen you, not I. Go straight up. Mrs. Lettice is in the antechamber.
I thank you, dear friend. My master bids me upon these occasions.
Gives him money.
I beg your pardon, good Mr. John.
Look you, I am a servant as well as you. What do you mean, Mr. Simon? Come, come, time's precious. When your lady's married, all these veils will end.
Nay, I said behind your back, Mr. John, that you were very well spoken. Well, put up briskly. I'll stand your friend as much as one servant can to another, against all masters and mistresses whatever.
Thanks, good Mr. Simon.
Exeunt. Scene 2. Penelope's lodgings. Lettice discovered reading by a small candle, 2 large ones by her unlighted.
'Tis a most sad thing, one dare not light a large candle except company's coming in, and I scarce can see to read this piteous story. Well, in all these distresses and misfortunes, the faithful Argylus was renowned all over the plains of Arcadia, for his loyal and true affection to his charming paramour Parthenia. Oh, blessings on his heart for it! There are no such suitors nowadays.
Weeping.
But I hope they'll come together again at the end of the book, and marry and have several children. Oh, bless me! A man here!
Turns over the leaves.
Oh, the gentleman's pretty man.
Enter Latine.
I wonder by what means, with that impudence, you could offer to come upstairs at this time of the night, and my lady in the next room. I protest I'll cry out.
Dear Mrs. Lettice, my love to you.
Hist, hist! I am, methinks, however, loath to discover you, because servants must do as they're bid, for I know it was not to see me, but some message from your master you came about.
I offered to bring a letter from him, in hopes to see you, my dearest. I'll not give it at all. I don't care, my dearest.
Kisses her hand.
Foh, foh! Now you are rude, because you know one dare not discover you. You do what you will. How he kisses one's hand. I warrant he has kissed his betters. Pray, did you never live in a lady's service?
No, nor do I value any of the sex but your dear self, Mrs. Lettice. I would be discovered. I'm in rapture, in a flame.
Penelope within.
Who's there?
Hist, hist! Could not you have forced the kiss quietly? Madam, madam! Hold me fast. Show the letter, my lady's coming. I tell you, sir, she will receive no message at all. Get you downstairs, you impudent! Hold me faster yet. She loves your master.
Enter Penelope and Victoria.
What can this mean? What fellow's that has seized the wench?
Madam, madam, here's Mr. Bookwit's footman, drunk, and has directly stole upstairs with some ill design, I fear, On me, but has a letter from his master to your ladyship.
Call up the servants. Simon, William, Kate, Alf. I'll have the rascal well blasted for his insolence, served just as his master deserves.
Latine, kneeling.
Let not those lips, more sweet than labour of Hyblaean bees, utter a sentence, as if a Libyan lioness on a mountain gave thee suck, and thou wert the obdurate offspring of a rock.
Hyblaean, Libyan, obdurate, ridiculous. The fellow has got his master's cant. Ha ha ha.
I'll put him out of it, I'll warrant you. What? Will no one come up there?
Enter servants with brooms, etc.
Oh, for the force of eloquence to allay and reconcile the passion of this angry mansion. I had liked to have said plain house, which had been against the laws of buskin, in which I would at present talk.
Did you ever hear anything like this?
Madam, shall I beat him?
Ah, culinary fair, compose thy rage. Thou whose more skilful hand is still employed in offices for the support of nature, descend not from thyself, thou bright cook-maid. There, sunk again, with heightened gusts and quickening tastes, by you what would be labour else is made delight. Thou great robust, let not thy hand all red assault a life it should rather preserve.
Good madam, excuse me, I can't touch him. I have bowels for him.
I wish I had his learning. I'll warrant he buys in everything wherever he lives.
This, madam, this faithful paper tells you the passions of the tenderest heart that ever bled for cruel maid. Oh, Victoria! Did you but hear his sighs, his restless hours? How often he repeats, Victoria.
Oh, Victoria! Then I find this is none on it meant to my lady, nor to me neither. The master and man are both rogues.
Receive your seasonable epistle now at midnight.
He can't mean me. To you he all along addressed. Would I could read it without her.
To show you I value neither author nor bearer of it. Kick the fellow down.
Nay, madam, since matters must come to extremities, I'd rather have the honour of your ladyship's command to be cudgelled by your good family than have it from my master. A disappointed lover in his rage will strike stone walls and things inanimate, much more a poor live footman. Therefore, I must deliver my message. I'll read it to you, ladies, for I see you are friends.
Away with him.
If the sincerity of my intentions were not
Get out, false wretch!
Demonstrable in spite of
Take that!
these accidents in which I have been involved, I should not dare to tell you how alternately joys, raptures, ecstasies, miseries, doubts, and anxieties do attack a breast devoted to you. Whither shall injured virtue fly for shelter, when love and honor suffer thus in me? Oh, I could rage, call elements about me, spout cataracts. Must I be drubbed with broom-staves?
Exit Latine.
Come in, my dear, again. The night is cold.
Exeunt. Scene 3. Covent Garden. Enter Lovemore and Frederick.
It is so pleasant tonight that I will see you over the garden to your lodgings.
That compliment won't pass upon me. Your reason for sauntering this way is that 'tis near Penelope's.
I come for her sake. No, should she write, beseech, kneel to me, I think I ne'er should value her more. No, I'll be no longer her tool, her jest. She shall not dally with a passion she deserves not.
'Twere very well were this resolution in your power, but believe me, friend, one smile, one glance that were but doubtful, whether favourable, would conquer all your indignation.
Faith, I'm afraid what you say is true.
Then strive not to be rationally mad, which you attempt if you think you can at once be at your own command and at another's. Would you be master of yourself and have a mistress?
But I can rebel against that mistress.
Do if you can. Nay, I'm sure 'tis in your power, because tomorrow morning you are to fight a rival for her. Because though you know she lies backwards, you can't so much as see her chamber window, you must needs walk hither. Well, I protest I'm of your mind. There is, methinks, now a particular amiable gloom about that house, though, perhaps, to ordinary beholders it is exactly like the others.
You are very witty, I must confess, at your friend's follies, Mr. Frederick.
I won't then any longer disturb your meditation, but e'en go home like a dull rogue as I am, and without love enough to any woman, or hatred enough to any man to keep me awake, fall fast asleep. I was going to wish you rest, but you are above all that. If it should rain, I advise you not to forget that it does, but go into the piazza.
Exit.
'Tis very well. I'm deservedly laughed at. But the door opens. Bookwit's footman.
Latine crosses the stage.
The master, I suppose, is there too. I'll watch for his coming out. The morning approaches too slowly. He shall not sleep tonight, except it be forever. Oh, revenge! Oh, jealousy!
Enter young Bookwit with bottle and glass, singing.
Since the day of poor man, that little span, though long it can't last, for the future and past is spent with remorse and despair. With such a full glass, let that of life pass. 'Tis made up of trouble, a storm though a bubble. There's no bliss but forgetting your care. I wonder what's become of poor Latine. I wish he had a bumper of this.
Drinks.
I have no patience to observe his insolent jollity. How immoderately joyful my misery has made him. Bookwit!
Lovemore!
What, sir? Are you diverting the thought of tomorrow morning's business with midnight riot, or is it an assignation keeps you out of bed thus late?
An hour or two till morning is not much in either of our lives. Therefore I must tell you now, sir, I am ready for your message.
The conscious light and stars are witnesses of...
I want no witnesses. I have a sword, as you bid me meet you.
They draw and fight.
You've done my business.
Falls.
Then I've done what you desired me. Oh, but this is no place for me.
Exit. Enter constable and watchman.
Where was that clashing of swords? So, you, sir, what are you, dead? Speak, friend, what are you afraid of? If you are dead, the law can't take hold of you.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Constable. He ought, by the law, to be carried to the roundhouse for being dead at this time of night.
Then away with him, you three. And you, gentlemen, follow me to find out who killed him.
Exeunt. Enter Simon.
What's the matter, good gentleman? What's the matter? Oh, me! Mr. Lovemore killed? Oh, me! My mind gives me that it must be about our young lady.
Does it so, sir? Then you must stay with us.
Some hold Simon, whilst others carry Lovemore off.
Stay with you? Oh, Gemini, indeed I can't. They can't be without me at our house.
But they must, friend. Hark ye, friend, I hope you'll be hanged.
I hanged? Pray, sir, take care of your words. Madam Penelope, our young lady's servant, hanged. Take care what you say.
Enter Latine.
Whither can this Bookwit be gone?
Oh, Mr. John, Mr. Lovemore is killed just now, since you went out of our house. And you and your master must have a hand in it.
How? Lovemore killed?
They seize Latine. Enter others with young Bookwit.
Hands off, you dirty midnight rascals! Let me go, or—
Sir, what were you running so fast for? There's a man killed in the garden, and you're a fine gentleman, and it must be you. For good honest people only beat one another.
Nay, nay, we are all in a fair way to be fine gentlemen, Mr. Simon and all.
Hands off, rascals! You said just now, do you know what a constable is?
The greatest man in the parish, when all the rest are asleep.
Come, come, I find they are desperate fellows. We'll to the justice and commit 'em immediately. I'll teach rascals to speak high treason against a petty constable.
Exeunt. Enter Frederick and old Bookwit.
You well may be surprised at my waiting here for your coming home. But you'll pardon me, since it is to ease me of an anxiety that keeps me waking.
I should be very glad if I am capable of doing that.
You knew my Tom at Oxford, and I believe were not so hard a student, but you made some acquaintance in the town. Therefore, pray tell me, do you know Mr. Newton there, his family, descent, and fortune?
What, Newtown?
I'll tell you, sir, what you young fellows take most notice of old ones for, a token that you needs must know him by. He's the father of the fair Matilda, your celebrated beauty of that town.
I assure you, sir, I never heard of the father or daughter to this instant. Therefore, I'm confident there's no such beauty.
Oh, sir, I know your drift. You're tender of informing me for my son's sake. He told me all himself. I know all the progress of his love with a young lady, how he was taken in the night in her bedchamber by his pistol going off, the family disturbance that was raised upon it, which he composed by marrying. I know it all.
Is Tom Bookwit then married at Oxford?
He is indeed, sir. Therefore, our affairs are now so linked that 'twill be an ill office both to the Newtons and to us to conceal anything from me that relates to them.
A man can't be said to conceal what he does not know. But it seems it was Mr. Bookwit gave you this account himself.
Yes, sir. I told you, sir, I had it from himself.
Then I'm sure there was nothing left out. He never tells a story by halves.
Why, then, you think my son's a liar.
Oh, fie, sir. But he enlivens a mere narration with variety of accidents. To be plain, his discourse gains him more applause than credit. You could not, I believe, have married your son to a less expensive lady in England than this Mrs. Matilda. I'll be sworn you'll avoid all the charges of gay dress, high play, and stately childbirth. Do you understand me, sir?
I never could see anything in my son that's disingenuous, to put his aged father to this shame.
Never fret or grieve for it. He told Lovemore this morning such a relation of his feasting ladies, and I know not what that he has brought a tilt upon his hands tomorrow morning. Therefore keep him at home. I'll to his adversary. So we'll convince him of a fault which he has so ill, though not intended, consequences.
You'll highly oblige me, sir. I'll trouble you no longer.
Exeunt. Scene 4. Newgate. Young Bookwit, Latine, Simon, Storm, with the crowd of jailbirds.
I apprehend, sir, by Mr. Turnkey, the gentleman there with a broken nose, that you're brought in for murder. I honour you, sir. I don't question but 'twas done like a gentleman.
I hope it will appear so.
I come, I fear, sir, to your acquaintance with some prejudice, because you see me thus in irons. But affliction is the portion of the virtuous and the gallant.
It does not depress, sir, but manifest the brave.
Right, sir, I find you're noble. You may perhaps have heard of me. My name is Storm. This person, my friend who is called Faggot, and myself, being exposed by an ungrateful world to feel its cruelty and contempt of ragged virtue, made war upon it, and in open day infested their high road.
Your humble servant, gentlemen, I do conceive you. Your spirits could not stoop to barter on the change, to sneer in courts, to lie, to flatter, or to creep for bread. You, therefore, chose rather to prey like lions, than betray like crocodiles, or fawn like dogs. You took upon you to interrupt the commerce of a cheating world, to unload the usurer of his anxious pelf, and save the thoughtless landed boy he travelled to undo, with 1,000 such good actions. By which means you two are infamous, for what 2 millions of you had been glorious.
Right, sir. I see you're knowing, sir, and learned in man. This gentleman, Mr. Charcoal, the chemist, was our secret correspondent, and as we never robbed a poor man, so he never cheated a fool, but still imposed on your most sprightly wits and genius, fellows of fire and metal, whose quick fancies and eager wishes formed reasons for their undoing. He is a follower of the great Raimundus Lullius. The public think to frighten him into their own purposes, but he'll leave the ungrateful world without the secret.
You know, sir, he that first asserted the antipodes died for that knowledge, and I, sir, having found out the melioration of metals, the ignorant will needs call it coining. And am I to be hanged for it, would you think it?
When, pray, sir, are you to be immortal?
On Friday next. I'm very unhappy our acquaintance is to be short. I'm very sorry your business is not over, sir, that if it must be, we might go together.
I'm highly obliged to you, sir.
Yet let me tell you, sir, because by secret sympathy I'm yours, I must acquaint you, if you can obtain the favour of an opportunity and a crucible, I can show projection. Directly sol, sir, more bright than that high luminary the Latins called so. Wealth shall be yours. We'll turn each bar about us into golden ingots. Sir, can you lend me 50
Oh, sir, a trifle between such old acquaintance.
You'll be indicted, sir, tomorrow. I would advise you, when your indictment's read, to one thing. That is, don't cavil at false Latin, but if by chance there should be a word of good, accept to that, and puzzle the whole court.
Sir, I'm obliged.
I defy the world to say I ever did an ill thing. I love my friend. But there is always some little trifle given to prisoners they call garnish. We of the road are above it, but at the other side of the house, silly rascals that came voluntarily hither, such as are in for fools, signed their own mittimus in being bound for others, may perhaps want it. I'll be your faithful almoner.
Oh, by all means, sir.
Gives him money.
Pray, sir, is that your footman?
He is my friend, sir.
Look you, sir, the only time to make use of a friend is in extremity. Do you think you could not hang him and save yourself? Sir, my service to you, your own health.
Captain, your health.
Gives it to the next prisoner.
Captain, your health.
But perhaps the captain likes brandy better. So-ho, brandy, there.
Drinks.
But you don't perhaps like these strong liquors. Cider, ho!
Drinks to him in it.
Gentlemen, all. But, Captain, I see you don't love cider neither. You and I will be for claret, then. Ay, marry, I knew this would please.
Drinks.
You.
Drinks again.
Faith, we'll make an end on it. I'm glad you like it.
I'm sorry, Captain Storm, to see you impose on a gentleman and put him to charge in his misfortune. If a petty larceny fellow had done this, but one of the road.
I beg your pardon, sir. I don't question, but the captain understands there is a fee for you going to the keeper's side.
Bookwit and Latine give him money, exeunt with turnkey, Simon following.
Nay, nay, you must stay here.
Why, I am Simon, Madam Penelope's man.
Then Madam Penelope's man must strip for garnish. Indeed, Master Simon, you must.
Thieves, thieves, thieves.
Thieves? Thieves? Why, you senseless dog, do you think there's thieves in Newgate? Away with him to the tap-house.
Pushes him off.
We'll drink his coat off. Come, my little chemist, thou shalt transmute this jacket into liquor, liquor that will make us forget the evil day. And while the day is ours, let us be merry. For little villains must submit to fate, that great ones may enjoy the world in state.
Exeunt. End of Act 4. Act 5 of The Lying Lover or The Lady's Friendship by Richard Steele. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act the 5th. Scene 1. Newgate. Young Bookwit discovered on a couch asleep, Latine looking on him.
How quietly he rests. Oh, that I could, by watching him, hanging thus over him, and feeling all his care, protract his sleep. Oh, sleep, thou sweetest gift of heaven to man. Still in thy downy arms embraced my friend, nor loose him from his inexistent trance, to sense of yesterday and pain of being. In thee oppressors soothe their angry brow. In thee the oppressed forget tyrannic power. In thee the wretch condemned is equal to his judge, and the sad lover to his cruel fair. Nay, all the shining glories men pursue, when thou art wanted, are but empty noise. Who then would court the pomp of guilty power, when the mind sickens at the weary show, and dies to temporary death for ease, when half our life's cessation of our being? He wakes. How do I pity that returning life, which I could hazard 1,000 lives to save?
Oh, how heavily do I awake this morning. Oh, this senseless drinking. To suffer a whole week's pain for an hour's jollity. Methinks my senses are burning round me. I have but interrupted hints of the last night. Ha! In a jail? Oh, I remember. Oh, Lovemore. Lovemore! I remember.
You must have patience, and bear it like a man.
Oh, whither shall I run to avoid myself? Why all these bars? These bolted iron gates? They are needless to secure me. Here's my rack, my jail, my torture. Oh, I can't bear it. I cannot bear the rushing of new thoughts. Fancy expends my senses to distraction, and my soul stretches to that boundless space to which I've sent my wretched, wretched friend. Oh, Latine, Latine! Is all our mirth and humour come to this? Give me thy bosom, close in thy bosom, hide me from thy eyes. I cannot bear their pity or reproach.
Dear Bookwit, how heartily I love you. I don't know what to say. But pray, have patience.
If you can't bear my pain, that's but communicated by your pity. How shall I my proper inborn woe, my wounded mind?
In all assaults of fortune that should be serene, not in the power of accident or chance.
Words, words, all that is but mere talk. Perhaps, indeed, to undeserved affliction reason and argument may give relief, or in the known vicissitudes of life we may feel comfort by our self-persuasion. But, oh, there is no taking away guilt. This divine particle will ache forever. There is no help but whence I dare not ask. When this material organ is indisposed, juleps can cool and anodynes give rest. But nothing mix with this celestial drop, but dew from that high heaven of which 'tis part.
May that high heaven compose your mind, and reconcile you to yourself.
How can I hope it? No, I must descend from man, grovel on earth, nor dare look up again. Oh, Lovemore, Lovemore, where is he now? Oh, thinking, why didst thou not come sooner? Oh, not now. My thoughts do so confuse me now, as my folly and pleasures did before this fatal accident, that I cannot recollect whence Lovemore was provoked to challenge me.
You know, dear Bookwit, I feared some ill from a careless way of talking. But alas, I dreamt not of so great a—
Ay, there it was. He was naturally a little jealous. Heavens, do I say he was? I talked to him of ladies, treats, and he might possibly believe 'twas where he had engaged. I remember his serious behaviour on that subject. Oh, this unhappy tongue of mine! Thou lawless, voluble, destroying foe, that still run'st on, nor wait'st command of reason, oh, I could tear thee from me.
Did you not expostulate before the action?
He would have done, but I, flushed with the thoughts of duelling, pressed on. Thus, for the empty praise of fools, I'm solidly unhappy.
You take it too deeply. Your honour was concerned.
Honour! The horrid application of that sacred word to a revenge against friendship, law, and reason is the damned last shift of the damned envious foe of human race. The routed fiend projected this, but since the expansive glorious law from heaven came down, forgive.
Enter Turnkey.
Gentlemen, I come to tell you that you have the favour to be carried in chairs to your indictment, to which you must go immediately.
We are ready, sir.
How shall I bear the eyeshot of the crowd and court?
Exeunt. Scene 2. Frederick's lodgings. Enter Lovemore in a sergeant's gown and Frederick.
Mankind is infinitely beholden to this noble styptic that could produce such wonderful effects so suddenly. But though my wound was very slight, I'm weak by the effusion of so much blood.
Yet, after all, you have not lost enough to cool your passion. Your heart still beats, Penelope, Penelope. But in this disguise you have opportunity for observation. You'll see whether you ought still to value her or not. I'm glad you thought of being brought hither as soon as you came to yourself. I expect old Bookwit every moment here.
Enter old Bookwit.
There he is.
Oh, Mr. Frederick! Too late. Too late was our care. They met last night, and then the fatal act was done. You'll excuse, sir, a father's sorrow. I can't speak much, but you may guess what I hope from you.
You may depend on ingenuous usage in this prosecution. I'm going instantly to Penelope's with this learned gentleman to know what she can say to this matter. I desired you, in the note I sent you, to purchase the favour of your son's being brought thither, where he and you may be witness of what shall pass. I seek not his blood, nor would neglect a justice to my deceased friend.
I believe my son and the rest are going thither ere this, and I desire this worthy sergeant's favour and advice, since we both mean the same thing, only to act with honour if his life may be saved.
I'll do what's just to the deceased and the survivor.
I'll leave you, but will take care to come in just afore the criminals arrive.
Exit.
The poor old gentleman. Prithee, let's go. I long to see my lovely torment. Penelope.
I'll but leave word within.
Exeunt. Scene 3. Penelope's lodgings. Enter Penelope and Victoria.
It seems Simon lay out all night, and was carried away by the watch with some gentleman in a quarrel.
I fancy the men who are always for showing their valour are like the women who are always talking of their chastity, because they are conscious of their defect in it.
Right, for we are not apt to raise arguments, but about what we think is disputable.
Ay, they whose honour is a sore part are more fearful of being touched than they in whom 'tis only a tender one. But tell me honestly, Penelope, should poor Lovemore be in this rencounter, and that for your sake, would it have no effect upon you in his favour?
I don't know how to answer you, but I find something in that reflection which acquaints me 'tis very hard for one to know one's own heart.
Sighs.
However, let your heart answer me one question more, as well as it can. Does it love me as well as ever it did?
Does not, madam, that question proceed from a change in your own?
It does, Penelope. I own it does. I had a long conflict with myself on my pillow last night.
What were your thoughts there?
That I owed it to our friendship to acknowledge to you that all the pleasure I once had in you is vanished. Ah, Penelope, I'm sorry for every good quality you have.
Since you are so frank, I must confess to you something very like this. But however I envied that sprightly, ingenuous native beauty of yours, I see it now so much the figure of your mind that I can conquer, I think I can, any inclination in myself that opposes the happiness of so sincere a friend.
Explain yourself, my dear.
I'll discountenance this Bookwit's ambiguous addresses, and if Lovemore can forgive my late ill usage, I need say no more.
Enter servant.
Mr. Frederick below desires to see you on some extraordinary business.
I have not time, my dearest friend, to applaud or thank you, but must run in. He comes from Lovemore, remember.
Exit.
Let him come up. Now can't I for my life forbear a little tyranny.
Enter Frederick and Lovemore.
Good morrow, sir. I believe I know your business, your officious for your friend, but I am deaf.
I know you are, and have been. But I come only to do him a last office. He'll trouble you no more. But I must conjure you to read this, and inform this learned gentleman what you know of this misfortune.
Penelope, reading.
Your cruelty provoked me to desire the favour of dying by Mr. Bookwit's hand, since he had taken from me more than life in robbing me of you. Farewell for ever. I direct Frederick not to give you this till I am no more. Writ in his blood? Till I am no more. Lovemore no more. Thou shalt not be no more. Thou shalt live here forever. Here, thou dearest paper, mingle with my life's stream. Either the paper bleeds anew, or my eyes weep blood. So let him do forever. O my Lovemore, did the vanity of a prating boy banish thy solid services and manly love?
This is no reparation to him for his lost life, nor me for my lost friend. Yet, when you please to receive 'em, I am obliged to deliver you some papers, wherein he has given you all the fortune he could bestow, nor would revoke it, even thus injured as he was.
Curse on all wealth and fortune. He is gone who only deserved all, and whose worth I know too late.
Lovemore to Frederick.
Oh, ecstasy! Why was I angry at her rejoicing at my sorrow, when hers to me is such perfect bliss? 'Tis barbarous not to discover myself.
Frederick to Lovemore.
Do, and be used barbarously. But, madam, you must be composed. Your life, for aught I know, is at stake. For there is no such thing as accessories in murder, and it can be proved you knew of Lovemore's threatening to fight Bookwit. You must either take your trial yourself or be Mr. Bookwit's witness.
I his witness. No, I'll swear anything to hang him.
Ah, madam, you must consider yourself, however. Pray, sir, read her indictment to her.
Lovemore, reading.
That, on the said 3rd day of April, the said Penelope, of the parish of St. Martin's in the Fields, spinster, without fear before her eyes, but by the instigation of the devil, and through an evil pride of heart,
Oh, 'tis too true.
did contrive, abet, and consent to the death of John Lovemore, Esquire, of the age of 28 years, or thereabouts.
I can't hear the mention of him without tears. He was the sincerest friend.
I think I have seen him. He was, I've heard, a man of honesty, but of something a disagreeable make.
Oh, sir, you never saw him if you think so. His person was as free as his mind was honest, nor had he imperfection, but his love of me.
Weeps. Lovemore to Frederick.
I tremble I shall disoblige her too much.
Frederick to Lovemore.
You shan't discover yourself. You shall go through her soul now 'tis moved on your side. Win her now, or see my face no more. I'll not have my wine spoiled every night with your recitals of love and asking advice, though you never mean to take it like a true lover.
When did that best of men expire, good Mr. Frederick?
This morning. But should I speak the matter? With a faint, dying voice he called me to him. I went in tenderness to take my long farewell. He, in a last effort of nature, pressed me to his breast, and with the softest accents sighed in death, Penelope.
Oh, the too generous man! Ungrateful I! Curses on him first flattered with his tongue, on her that first dissembled in her silence. What miseries have they entailed on life to bring in fraud and diffidence of love? Simplicity's the dress of honest passion. Then why our arts? Why to a man enamoured, that at her feet effuses all his soul, must women cold appear, false to herself and him?
Frederick to Lovemore.
Do you see there? You'd have spoke before she considered that.
Oh, could I see him now, to press his livid lips, and call him back to life with my complaints. His eyes would glare upon my guilt with horror, that used to gloat and melt in love before me. Let mine for ever then be shut to joy, to all that's bright and valuable in man. I'll to his sacred ashes be a wife, and to his memory devote my life.
Exit.
This is worth dying for indeed. I'll follow her.
No, you shan't. Let her go in, throw herself upon her bed and hug, and call her pillow Lovemore. This is what you've done 1,000 times for her.
That's true, too.
Let her contemplate on the mischief of her vanity. She shall lament till her glass is of our side, till its pretty eyes be all blubbered. Its heart must heave and pant with perfect anguish before 'twill feel the sorrow of another's. Don't you know pride, scorn, affectation, and a whole train of ills must be sobbed away before a great beauty's mortified to purpose?
Enter servant.
Old Mr. Bookwit inquires for you here, Mr. Frederick.
Pray, let him come up.
Enter old Bookwit.
What's the matter? You seem more discomposed than you were at Mr. Frederick's. Something still new.
I saw the boy a-coming in the chair. He looks so languid and distressed, poor lad. He has all his mother's softness, by nature of the sweetest disposition. Oh, gentlemen, you know not what it is to be a father, to see my only child in that condition. My grief quickened at the sight of him. I thought I could have patience till I saw him.
Enter servant.
There are 2 or 3 in chairs desire admittance by appointment.
'Tis right, sir.
Enter Young Bookwit, Latine, and Jailer.
Oh, my dear child! Oh, Tom! Are all thy aged father's hopes, then, come to this? That he can't see thee, his only son, but guarded by a jailer? Thy mother's happy that lived not to see this day. Is all the nurture that she gave thy infancy, the erudition she bequeathed thy youth, thus answered? Oh, my son, rise and support thy father. I sink with tenderness, my child. Come to my arms while thou art mine.
Oh, best of fathers, let me not see your tears. Don't double my afflictions by your woe. There's consolation when a friend laments us, but when a parent grieves, the anguish is too native, too much our own to be called pity. Oh, sir, consider, I was born to die. 'Tis but expanding thought, and life is nothing. Ages and generations pass away, and with resistless force, like waves o'er waves, roll down the irrevocable stream of time into the insatiate ocean forever. Thus we are gone. But the erroneous sense of man, 'tis the lamented that's at rest, but the survivor mourns. All my sorrows vanish with that thought, but heaven grant my aged father patience.
Oh, child!
Turning away.
Do not torment yourself. You shall promise not to grieve. What if they do upbraid you with my death? Consider, sir, in death that our relation ceases. Nor shall I want your care, or know your grief. It matters not whether by law or nature 'tis I die. What? Won't my father hear me plead to him? Don't turn from me. Yet don't look at me with your soul so full.
Oh, my child, I could hear thee ever. 'Twas that I love thee that I turn away. To hear my son persuade me to resign him, I can't. The grief is insupportable.
You make a coward of me with your anguish. I grow an infant, scarce can weep with silence. But let me keep some decency in my distress.
If we might be apart?
Looking at the company.
But that's too much to hope.
No, we'll leave you to yourselves.
Exeunt.
I have too much upon me, child, to speak, and indeed have nothing to say, but to feed my eyes upon thee ere we part for ever, if tears would let me. When you have slept in your cradle, I have waked for you. And was it to this end? Oh, child, you broke your father's heart.
Swoons.
Good heaven forbid it. Guard him and protect him. He faints. He's cold. He's gone.
Running to him.
He's gone, and with his last breath called me parricide. You've broke your father's heart. Oh, killing sound! I'm all contagion. To pity me is death. My griefs to all are mortal but myself. You've broke your father's heart. If I did so, why thus serene in death, thou smiling clay? Why that calm aspect to thy murderer? O big unutterable grief! Merciful heaven! I don't deserve this ease of tears to melt with penitence. Oh, sweet, sweet remorse! Now all my powers give way to my just sorrow, for the best of fathers. Thou venerable fountain of my life, why don't I also die, derived from thee? Sure you are not gone. Is the way out of life thus easy, which you so much feared in me?
Takes him by the hand.
Why stay I after? But I deserve to stay, to feel the quick remembrance of my follies. Yet if my sighs, my tears, my anguish can atone.
Re-enter Frederick, Lovemore, Latine, Jailer, Victoria, and Penelope.
What is the matter? What?
behold this sight. I am the guilty wretch.
Keep aside a little, sir. He only swoons, I hope. I think he breathes. Yes, he returns. You must compose yourself.
Poor Bookwit, how utterly he seems distressed.
I will be calm, resigned to heaven, and hear you patiently.
You, sir, his favourite servant, pray speak honestly of truth of what you know of this learned gentleman, who is counsel in this case.
Sir, he is not.
Pray, sir, give the servant leave first.
No, then. I am not what I seem, but a gentleman of a plentiful fortune. I am thus dressed to carry on such gay pursuits as should offer in this town. Not to detain you, Mr. Bookwit sent me late last night with a letter to one of these ladies. Coming from thence, as I crossed, I saw Lovemore in the garden. He stopped me, and, after some questions concerning my message to this house, to which he did not like my answers, he struck me. We fought. I left him dead upon the spot, of which this gentleman is guiltless.
How? Was it you, then, that killed Mr. Lovemore?
'Twas this unhappy hand gave him his death, but so provoked.
Who could believe that any pleasing passion could touch a breast loaded with guilt like mine? But all my mind is seized with admiration of thy stupendous friendship. What then? Couldst thou hold thy innocent hand up at a bar with felons to save thy friend? How shall I chide or praise thy brave imposture? Ah, sir, believe him not. He cannot bear the loss of me whom he overvalues. Therefore with highest gallantry he offers a benefit which 'twere the meanest baseness to receive. But death's more welcome than a life so purchased.
We all know you can talk and gild things as you please, but the lady's servant knows I was taken near the body when you
Sir, do but hear me.
Pushing away Latine.
I'll easily convince you.
Pushing away Bookwit.
Pray mind him not. His brain is touched.
I am the man. He was not near the place.
I can hold out no longer. Lovemore still lives to adore your noble friendship and begs a share in it. Be not amazed, but let me grasp you both, who in an age degenerate as this have such transcendent virtue.
Oh, Lovemore, Lovemore! How shall I speak my joy at thy recovery? I fail beneath the too ecstatic pleasure. What help has human nature from its sorrows, when our relief itself is such a burthen?
Oh, the best burthen upon earth! I beg your pardon, sir. I never was so taken with a man in my life at first sight.
Kisses Lovemore. To Latine.
Let me be known to you, too.
Sir, you do me honor.
But you, ladies, are the first cause of the many errors we have been in, and you only can extricate us with satisfaction. Such is the force of beauty. The wounds the sword gave this gentleman were slight, but you've transfixed a vital and a noble part, his heart. Had I known his pretences, I had not interposed for my son.
Come, madam, no more of the cruel. Go on. Lovemore, on my conscience, the man's afraid 'tis impudence to be alive again. You see him now, madam. Now you may press his livid lips and call him back to life with your complaints.
I stand, methinks, on the brink of fate, in an ambiguous interval of life, and doubt to accept of being till you smile. In every human incident besides, I am superior, and can choose or leave, but in the minutest things that touch my love, my bosom seized with anguish or with transport.
You've shown your passion to me with such honour that if I am confused, I know I should not be, to say I approve it. For I know no rule should make me insensible of generous usage. My person and my mind are yours for ever.
Then doubts, and fears, and anxious cares be gone, all ye black thoughts that did corrode my breast. Here enter faith, and confidence, and love. Love that can't live with jealousy, but dwells with sacred marriage, truth, and mutual honour. I knew not where you would bestow your vows, but never doubted of your faith when given.
Kissing her hand.
You see, my son, how constancy is rewarded. You have from nature every quality to make you well become what fortune gave you. But neither wit nor beauty, wealth nor courage implicitly deserve the world's esteem. They're only in their application good. How could you fight a man you knew not why? You don't think that 'tis great merely to dare? 'Tis that a man is just he should be bold. Indeed, you've erred.
You give my friend, methinks, too much compunction for a little levity in his actions, when he's too severe in his own reflections on 'em.
Well, Victoria, you see I take your advice at last, in choice of Lovemore.
I congratulate your missing of the other.
I heartily believe you, my dear friend.
But we best guide our actions by hope of reward. Could but my son have such glorious prospect as this fair one.
To Victoria.
I doubt not but his future carriage would deserve her.
I believe I may safely promise to approve of all the truth he tells me.
You've promised, then, to like all I shall say.
These unexpected good events deserve our celebration, with some mirth and fiddles.
I foresaw this happy turn, therefore have prepared them. Call in the dancers.
The rolling years the joys restore, which happy, happy Britain knew, when in a female age before, beauty the sword of justice drew. Nymphs and fauns and rural powers of crystal floods and shady bowers no more shall here preside. The flowing wave and living green owe only to their present queen their safety and their pride. United air and pleasures bring of tender note and tuneful string. All your arts devoted are to move the innocent and fair, while they receive the pleasing wound, echo repeats the dying sound.
Since such deserved misfortunes they must share, who with gay falsehoods entertain the fair, let all with this just maxim guide their youth: there is no gallantry in love but truth.
Exeunt. Epilogue. Our too adventurous author soared tonight above the little praise, mirth to excite, and chose with pity to chastise the light. For laughter's a distorted passion, born of sudden self-esteem and sudden scorn, which, when 'tis over, the men in pleasure wise both him that moved it and themselves despise, while generous pity of a painted woe makes us ourselves both more approve and know. What is that touch within which nature gave from man to man ere fortune made a slave? Sure it descends from that dread power alone, who levels thunder from his awful throne, and shakes both worlds, yet hears the wretched groan. 'Tis what the ancient sage could ne'er define, wondered, and called part human, part divine. 'Tis that pure joy which guardian angels know, when timely they assist their care below. When they the good protect, the ill oppose, 'tis what our sovereign feels when she bestows, which gives her glorious cause such high success, that only on the stage you see distress. End of Act 5. End of The Lying Lover, or The Lady's Friendship by Richard Steele.